Chapter 663. Taoist Master He Tian? Taoist Master Mo Sun? When the Thunder Punishment Taoist saw the two captured Taoist masters, a deep sense of despair engulfed his entire body, causing him to feel cold all over. How could this be? How could this be? The Thunder Punishment Taoist master was in a daze and felt like he was about to collapse. He had been tortured by the poisonous snake for 2 whole days and had relied on the belief that someone from the heavenly Tao would come to his rescue. That was why he had been able to resist the urge to divulge the secrets of the heavenly Tao and his chaos arts. Now that both Taoist Master He Tian and Taoist Master Mo Sun had been captured alive, it was obvious that the heavenly Tao's rescue had failed. When he thought of the consequences, he felt as though his spine had been pulled out. He could no longer hold on and collapsed to the ground. Bring him in and interrogate him properly. We have to get everything we need out of him. Xing Hui said to Poison Scorpion. Poison Scorpion responded respectfully and quickly brought the Thunder Punishment Taoist master to another room to continue the interrogation. Swoosh! After the Thunder Punishment Taoist master left, Xing Hui shot a sword intent into the Taoist Master He Tian's spiritual world. Instantly, the Taoist master's face was filled with fear as he quickly regained his senses. When he saw Xing Hui, his pupils shrank as though a trace of fear flashed across his eyes. However, he quickly forced himself to calm down and said in a threatening manner, "It seems like you really intend to fight to the death with the heavenly Tao. However, are you sure you can withstand the wrath of the heavenly Tao?" Taoist Master He Tian, it seems like you haven't recognized me yet. Xing Hui looked indifferent. The Taoist Master He Tian frowned as he stared at Xing Hui for a moment. He really couldn't think of anyone he knew who was as monstrous as the person in front of him. He looked like he was only at the divine realm and was at most at the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. However, his combat strength had reached such a level that even a divine realm powerhouse was no match for him. It would be better if he had secretly refined an 18th grade divine weapon into his body. However, if he had relied on his own abilities to go against the divine realm, wouldn't that mean he had awakened a supreme divine ability? Once such a terrifying existence who possessed supreme divine abilities broke through to the divine realm, even if the chaotic holy man had reached the vacuum-shattering realm, it would not be easy to take him down. Taoist Master Black Heaven, you are indeed busy. Then, let me remind you that you once sent a golden core incarnation to create evolve mysterious sect in Eastern Wasteland. Xing Hui said. As soon as he finished speaking, Taoist Master Black Heaven, who had forced himself to calm down, suddenly narrowed his eyes. His breathing became rapid, and his face was filled with shock. It's you? You're that kid called Xing Hui? Impossible. Impossible. That incident happened only a few years ago. At that time, you weren't even in the Golden Core realm. How could you possibly cultivate a divine ability in just a few years? Moreover, the avatar I sent down had already killed you, and because I knew that you had a Class 10 recovery ability, I purposely ground your bones and scattered your ashes. Even a resurrection spell wouldn't be able to resurrect a living being without a trace. How could you be that person? Perhaps it's hard to believe, but it's the truth. The resurrection art cannot resurrect a person who has been burned to ashes, but what about the backtrack art? Backtrack art? A backtrack art that can only be possessed by a level 40 chaotic holy man. Taoist Master Black Heaven's eyes widened. Xing Hui looked coldly at Taoist Master Black Heaven. That day, I said that I would take revenge, and now I've done it. Taoist Master Black Heaven, you're now in my hands. I hope that you can hold on for 2 or 3 days like Taoist Master Thunder Punishment. Don't give in too quickly, otherwise, I'm afraid I'll miss out on a lot of fun. As he spoke, Su Fei had brought the two of them directly to the interrogation room and bowed respectfully. Take them away. I want to squeeze out every valuable thing from them. Xing Hui said. Taoist Master Black Heaven's eyes flashed with despair. Disciple Zhu Zhao, you're from Heaven Dome? But don't be complacent. Heaven Dao will never let Heaven Dome go. Wu Leekless Holy Man has already set a trap. Now, Master Firmament from Heaven Dome, Sword Master by Heng and Sword Master Long Rainbow from Rainbow Sword Sect, and Sword Master Yu Ying from Sword Shadow have all fallen into Master Firmament's trap. The best outcome for these people is to fall into the void mezzanine, and they might even be caught by us. When that happens, Heaven Dome will not be able to escape the fate of destruction. Is that so? Then I don't mind telling you a piece of news. After knowing that Wu Likless Holy Man has set a trap, Master Zhu Zhao of Heaven Dome has already gone to support him. The trap set by Wu Likless Holy Man may be able to trap Master Firmament, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying, but what about Master Zhu Zhao? Zhu Zhao? He recovered? Not only did he recover, but he also benefited from the disaster and broke through to the Insightful Void Realm. Insightful Void Realm? Zhu Zhao of the Insightful Void Realm. This news immediately caused Dao Master He Tian to break down. No, impossible, impossible. How can Zhu Zhao advance to the Insightful Void Realm? Take them away. Xing Hui waved his hand. The two interrogators quickly took He Tian and Mo Xian away and interrogated them separately. Just at this moment, Xing Hui seemed to sense something. Suddenly, he shifted his consciousness to the Sky Dome realm in the Primal Chaos Shrine. The moment he entered the Sky Dome realm, he immediately saw the flustered Master Tsang Zhen. Clearly, it was Master Tsang Zhen who contacted him earlier. When Master Tsang Zhen saw Xing Hui arrive, he quickly asked, "Xing Hui, how are things going on your side? I've already dealt with most of them. However, there are still some loose ends that require someone to oversee." After Xing Hui finished speaking, he noticed the strange expression on Master Tsang Zhen's face. He quickly asked, "What happened?" "Something unexpected happened. We lost contact with Master Firmament and Master Zhu Zhao at the same time." "We lost contact with Master Firmament and Master Zhu Zhao at the same time?" Xing Hui was slightly shocked. "What's going on? Could it be because they're fighting with Wu Lu Holy Man, Styx River Holy Man, Wu Sei Holy Man, and the others? They can't reply to your message? If that's the case, then that's great. I've already contacted the Wind Wing Sword Saint and Elder Fu Chu from the Sword Shadow Sect in the Primal Chaos Shrine. I've asked them to contact Bai Heng, Long Rainbow, and Yu Ying. I hope they haven't lost contact with us." Whoosh! After Master Tsang Zhen finished speaking, two figures appeared in the Primal Chaos Shrine. They were the Wind Wing Sword Saint and Elder Fu Chu. Seeing their worried expressions, Master Tsang Zhen's heart sank. However, he immediately asked, "How is it? Can you contact Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying?" "We can't contact them. Yu Ying hasn't replied either," the Wind Wing Sword Saint and Elder Fu Chu said. "Could it be that their battle has reached its climax, so they can't be distracted? After all, the Heavenly Tao has a total of 7 great sages. Among them is an existence that far surpasses ordinary great sages like Holy Man Minghe. Even if we have esteemed Zhu Zhao on our side, it shouldn't be easy to defeat them," the Wind Wing Sword Saint said. "That's not possible." Zhangzhen Exalted Master looked at Sword Saint Feng Yi and Elder Fu Chu and said, "The others may have to focus on the battle and can't be distracted, but Zhu Zhao won't be out of touch for a long time. There's one thing that you don't know. Not long ago, Zhu Zhao reached the Insightful Void Realm and reached the Insightful Void Realm. He's different from Chaos Holy Master. Once he reaches the Insightful Void Realm, his battle strength will soar several times. Not to mention that he has Firmament, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying by his side. Even without them, Zhu Zhao, who is at the Insightful Void Realm, can suppress the 7 saints of the Heavenly Way by himself." Paradise Void Stage. Master Zhu Zhao has reached the Paradise Void Stage. This is too unbelievable. Once Master Zhu Zhao enters the Paradise Void Stage, won't he be invincible? From now on, who in the Divine Wilderness can be his match? The Wind Wing Sword Saint and Elder Fu Chu were both shocked and delighted by this news. Now that they had formed an alliance with Tsang Qiong to fight against the Way of the Heavens, the stronger Tsang Qiong was, the better. Moreover, Tsang Qiong's style of doing things was different from the Way of the Heavens, the Eternal, and the Divine Wilderness. Even if Tsang Qiong was as strong as the Way of the Heavens, the eternal, and the divine wilderness, he wouldn't be too harsh on his allies. Now is not the time to discuss these matters. We must find out what happened as soon as possible. Windwing Sword Saint, the Causal Peak battlefield is the closest to your Rainbow Sword sect. The Rainbow Sword sect should send some Sword Saint level experts as soon as possible to investigate. Okay. The Windwing Sword Saint nodded seriously. The Causal Peak is only 6,000 kilometers away from the Rainbow Sword sect. If the Rainbow Sword sect sends a powerful figure, we'll receive news in at most an hour. Songjin said. There must be someone on the Kong Li continent. Otherwise, the people of the eternal and the divine wilderness haven't gone far, and the way of the heavens is still on the Kong Li continent. There will definitely be chaos. You should send a powerful figure as soon as possible to replace me on the Kong Li continent and let me return to the divine wilderness. Xing Hui said seriously. A powerful figure? Song Zhen looked at Xing Hui. 200,000 low-grade Li Qin stones, 30,000 high-grade Li Qin stones, and 4,000 peerless grade Li Qin stones. This is a huge sum of 5,000 to 6,000 Dao ripples. Without 1 or 2 divine sages, how can one powerful figure hold down the fort? Send a sword bearer? Song Jin shook his head. There must be a saint-level battle force in the headquarters. Otherwise, once someone invades and destroys the mountain-protecting formation, we will become rootless duckweeds. When the time comes and the other party wants to deal with us, we can only passively take a beating. Speaking of this, he also persuaded. Zhu Zhao Venerable has now stepped into the insightful emptiness realm. With Zhu Zhao Venerable around, there shouldn't be any problems. Hearing this, Xing Hui could only nod. In less than an hour, news finally came from Sword Saint Feng Yi. News has come back. Red Rock Sword Saint arrived at the battlefield at the fastest speed. Now the Karma Peak is in full swing. But according to him, the way of the heavens has not only the 7 great sages, but also the 9 supremes, including Lord of Heaven Heartless. Lord of Heaven Heartless? Lord of Heaven Heartless of the Grand Supreme? Song Zhen was slightly startled, but then he was relieved. Lord of Heaven Heartless can be classified as the 3rd type of divine sages. He is a person of the Grand Supreme. It seems that the way of the heavens has not only mobilized the power of the divine Tao, but also the power of the Grand Supreme. The 9 great sages, including Wu Qing and Mingyi, are also included. No wonder Zhu Zhao Venerable, Firmament Venerable, and the others are fighting so hard and have no time to care about other things. So we made a false alarm. After that, he turned to Xing Hui again. The anxiety on his face faded by half. He smiled and said, although the way of the heavens has mobilized the power of the Grand Supreme, but at best, it can only barely resist Zhu Zhao Venerable. Unfortunately, I'm afraid the result of this battle will not be as glorious as we imagined. Wu Lu, this old man, is indeed meticulous. Even if we use Zhu Zhao Venerable as our trump card, we still can't gain much advantage. Chapter 664. Xing Hui felt rather regretful after hearing this. Fortunately, there was no major issue here. Xing Hui, you have to make arrangements on your side as soon as possible. I will help you contact a Voidwalker and ask him to bring people to the island at the edge of the Kongli continent, and then to the Kongli continent. These are dust-repelling stones with 5,000 to 6,000 Taoist rhymes. The sooner you excavate them, the better. Otherwise, I'm afraid that in the face of such a huge prophet, the Tai-Yi Emperor, the Chaos Holy Man, and the Supreme God Ancient Barons, who are invincible in the Void Realm, will not be able to resist coming out of seclusion and make a move on these dust-repelling stones. I understand. I have many people from the Heavenly Tao under me, and I will urge them to excavate as soon as possible. If the Heavenly Tao can send a few thousand more Saint-level members over, I am confident that we can excavate the important part of the dust-repelling stones in half a month. Okay, I will arrange it now. Master Songjin nodded. Immediately, Qing Su left the Chaos Divine Hall and summoned Su Fei again. Bring everyone from the other mines here. We need to excavate this mine as soon as possible. Yes, Senior. Su Fei answered respectfully and quickly did as he was told. Xing Hui nodded and patrolled the mines again. However, after one round, he vaguely felt that something was wrong, as if he was being spied on. Frowning, Xing Hui went directly to a group of buildings, activated the shadowless stance, and completely concealed his aura. Then he used the Spirit Wanderer technique to manifest his primordial spirit, rose into the air, and used the aura examination technique to look in all directions. Soon, Xing Hui understood where this feeling of being spied on came from. 4,000 kilometers away, there were two majestic auras that went straight into the clouds. They were mighty and mighty, like the scorching sun hanging in the void, clearly visible. In addition, in another area more than 6,000 kilometers away, there were also 4 auras intertwined. Although they were not as mighty and magnificent as the 2 auras, they were not weak either. People from the eternal and divine wilderness. I spared their lives, but they dare to hide and not leave? Xing Hui's expression suddenly turned cold. In the next moment, his primordial spirit returned to his body, and then his figure rose into the air. Like a stream of light, he tore through the sky in an instant and whizzed toward the eternal realm with unbelievable speed. At that moment, the eternal battleship seemed to have left, but Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun and Emperor Lord Blacklight stayed behind alone. At this moment, Monarch Blacklight was using a special treasure to monitor the entire Bieli mountain range. When he sensed the sword light shooting out from the Bieli mountain range, Monarch Blacklight's expression immediately changed. Oh no, he discovered us. Discovered? Is he still in the mood to deal with us? Could it be that they hadn't received the news yet? I remember that the White Rainbow Sword sect is only 6,000 kilometers away from the battlefield, right? If the White Rainbow Sword sect's reaction is so slow, then it wouldn't be strange for them to be destroyed in the end. The Brilliant Sun Emperor frowned, but he still said, "All right, this child's combat strength is astonishing. My Yuan Qi has yet to recover, so it's indeed inappropriate for me to fight him head-on. Let's avoid him first." Monarch Blacklight and Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun nodded, then leaped and left quickly. However, in just a moment, when they sensed the rapidly approaching sharp and blazing aura, the 2 Eternal Saint powerhouses' expressions changed. Sylvester, what a fast flying speed. This flying speed. Oh no, let's go. Let's go. The Brilliant Sun Emperor's expression darkened, and he quickly accelerated. However, they had only accelerated for a moment. When they sensed the terrifying aura approaching at twice their speed, they helplessly stopped. We can't escape. If we can't escape, then so be it. We, the Eternal Realm, are not to be trifled with. At most, we'll spend 100 Taoist rhymes to use the teleportation technique to escape. However, if he really dares to force us to that point, we'll have a grudge. When Zhu Zhao, Heaven Dome, and the rest are all wiped out, I'll see how Heaven Dome can still be arrogant. The Black Light Emperor and the Bright Sun Emperor both stopped. They looked at Qing Su, who had shot over like a bolt of lightning, and their faces were cold. Brilliant Sun, Blacklight, the 2 of you are so bold. Since you don't want to leave normally, let me send you on your way. Rumble! A powerful sound wave accompanied by a violent sonic boom rapidly spread. In the roar, Xing Hui's figure instantly appeared in front of Monarch Blacklight and Monarch Blacklight. Then, the Scarlet Abyss sword vibrated. Without any nonsense, a bright light condensed on the sword. Sunburst. Lunatic. Bastards. You Tianxiong Empire are courting death. Monarch Blacklight and Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun saw that Xing Hui did not say anything and directly drew his sword to attack. They immediately roared in anger and at the same time, activated their respective divine abilities. Under the effect of the domain power, it was like a surging tsunami that collided with the falling sword light. The collision between the sword light and the domain was like a meteor falling into the sea. In an instant, intense light and monstrous waves were set off. However, before the monstrous waves could spread in all directions, the second and third meteors had already fallen, evaporating the vast sea with an unstoppable force. Without the obstruction of the sea, the remaining fourth and fifth meteors immediately tore through everything in front of them and engulfed Emperor Blacklight and Monarch Blacklight. Monarch Blacklight was so shocked that he had to burn the origin of his domain to unleash a stronger domain to resist. His swordsmanship is too powerful. We can't block it. Monarch Blacklight said anxiously. Damn it. Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun's expression was gloomy. Previously, when the four great sages joined forces to deal with Tsing Hui, they did not feel much. Now that Tsing Hui was venting his anger on the two of them, they immediately felt the terror of the Sword of the Sunburst. The thunderous attacks continued to explode crazily and directly tore apart the domain power that he, a saint, was so proud of. When others attacked the enemy's city or domain, they used cannonballs to bombard the ground. However, he directly used nuclear bombs and even bombarded them with nuclear bombs. Such an unreasonable way of fighting made the two great sages suffer. I'm afraid that even the Jade Emperor Holy Man and the Bottomless Chasm Holy Master are inferior to him. Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun said bitterly. Crazy! Crazy! Cho Tsing Hui, you're not saving your people from Heaven Dome, Baihong Sword Sect, and Sword Shadow. What's the meaning of this? Could it be that you want to watch as the people of Sky Vault, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Shadow Sword all die? Monarch Blacklight, who was burning the origin of his domain but was still being torn apart by Tsing Hui, roared furiously. Tsing Hui paused for a moment, then laughed coldly. Saving the people from Heaven Dome, Baihong Sword Sect, and Sword Shadow? You're talking about the traps set by the Anisrava Holy Man? Unfortunately, he doesn't know that I, Venerable Zhu Zhao of Heaven Dome, will personally go there. With Venerable Zhu Zhao around, even if the Anisrava Holy Man's calculations are accurate, he won't be able to escape the fate of being overturned by Heaven Dome. You don't know? Don't tell me that the Baihong Sword Sect hasn't sent anyone to investigate? Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun was a little surprised. What's going on? Tsing Hui faintly felt that something was wrong. You shouldn't be able to contact the two sword masters of Heaven Dome and Baihong Sword Sect. You should know that there are only two ways to prevent people from communicating with the Chaos Temple and using the Chaos Temple to send messages. One is that the cultivator's spirit is so weak that it is unable to communicate with the Chaos Temple. The other is that the cultivator has already left this world and is in a space mezzanine or an endless void. The first way is usually when someone has been completely defeated. Calculating the time, Heaven Dome shouldn't have been defeated so quickly. As for the second way, that is when the cultivator is no longer in the divine wilderness world, and the inability to communicate with Heaven Dome, Sword Shadow, and Baihong Sword Sect is obviously the second way. Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun said, You mean they've shattered space? Although vacuum-shattering experts can shatter space, it won't affect communication with the Chaos Temple unless they enter an endless void or a space mezzanine. Are you trying to tell me that Heaven Dome, Master Zhu Zhao, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying have all been banished to a space mezzanine? Banishing a space mezzanine is something that no one in the divine wilderness can do. Even vacuum-shattering experts can only shatter the surface of space, which is far from banishing people. However, there is one person and one thing in the divine wilderness who can separate the battlefield and send it into an endless void. That thing is our eternal divine nation, and that person is the Chaos Realm formed after Chaos Holy Sovereign merged a 17th-tier supreme treasure into his own domain. Chaos Holy Sovereign's Chaos Realm? Tsing Hui suddenly understood something. Chaos Holy Sovereign has come out of seclusion? He was able to eliminate Sword Master Bai Heng and Master Zhu Zhao, who were regarded as the greatest enemies of the Heavenly Tao, in one breath, and it was related to the fight for the profits of 5,000 to 6,000 Taoist rhymes. Why didn't he come out of seclusion? Emperor Blacklight sneered and said, When the Chaos Holy Man was in the Divine Realm, he once trapped 14 magnates in the Divine Realm for a day with his Chaotic Realm. Now that he has reached the Void Transformation Realm, do you think that Reverend Zhu Zhao, Firmament Master, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying can escape? He only needs to gather the power of the Heavenly Tao and move them to the Chaos Origin Realm. Then he can kill all 5 of them. Even if he can't mobilize enough divinities, he can still kill them in 1 or 2 years with the help of the special battlefield in the Chaos Origin Realm that can't be replenished by the outside world. That's right. Therefore, Zhuo Qingshu, what you need to do now is to restrain the Divine Realm Giants of Heavenly Tao as soon as possible. Don't let them join forces and enter the chaotic primordial realm. Otherwise, the 5 strongest divine realm experts of Celestial Vault, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Sword Shadow will all perish in the chaotic primordial realm. Emperor Bright Sun chimed in. Chaos Realm. Qing Su's face sank. He could already guess the danger that the Heavens Domain Master, Venerable Zhu Zhao, and so on faced. As a matter of fact, he could even guess that there was something wrong with the Scarlet Pung Sword Saint of the Rainbow Sword Sect. Otherwise, the 3 of them would not have wasted so much time. However, before that, no one is allowed to interfere in the Kongli continent. You too, get lost to the space mezzanine. Chapter 665. Cho Tsing-hui, how dare you? How dare you trap us in a spatial mezzanine? When we return, we won't let you off. When the time comes, under the double attack of the Heavenly Tao and the Eternal Tao, you will be doomed eternally. Emperor Blacklight and Emperor Bright Sun roared at the same time, but what awaited them was an even faster sunburst sword. Damn it, teleportation. Emperor Blacklight growled, and the teleportation ripples spread out. However, basically at the same time that he activated the teleportation technique, Qing Su had already used the grief-parting world again. Under the interference of the grief-parting world, problems clearly appeared with Emperor Blacklight's teleportation technique. However, as teleportation was a special ability grasped by the Son of Chaos, he was unable to stop it at all. He could only vanish as a spatial pulse with unwillingness and anger. Cho Tsing-hui. The remaining Emperor Bright Sun roared when he saw this scene. At the same time, he couldn't care less about fighting Tsing-hui. He turned around, and the destructive torrent formed by the Great Sun's demise smashed towards the Lihan Heaven realm. However, before his death of the Great Sun could land on the parting Hatred Heaven world, Qing Su's figure suddenly flickered, and he erupted with speed. He actually managed to intercept the death of the Great Sun that was hurtling towards the parting Hatred Heaven world. A sword of sunlight slashed down and forcefully shattered the death of the Great Sun, causing it to explode into flames. However, before the flames could completely disperse, his second sword of sunlight had already arrived. If there were 2 of you, one of you would pin me down while the other attacked the Lihan Heaven realm, I wouldn't be able to do anything to you. But, you alone, you can't break the Lihan Heaven realm. Tsing Hui's voice echoed in the blazing light, making Emperor Bright Sun sullen and angry. Powerful domain power continued to revolve around him, and beams of Great Sun's demise continuously blasted out in all directions. However, Tsing Hui's speed was simply too fast, so much so that every attack of the Brilliant Sun Emperor was easily intercepted by him. After a few breaths of time, not only did the Brilliant Sun Emperor fail to cause any damage to the Lihan Heaven realm, but the power of his own realm was also mostly destroyed by Tsing Hui's Sword of Sunlight, forming a large vacuum. The Brilliant Sun Emperor's eyes flashed with a hint of ruthlessness. Cho Tsing-hui, you better pray that I will only find a way to return after your Heaven's Vault has resolved this crisis. Otherwise, you can just wait for the Heavenly Tao and our Eternal Tao to join forces to attack your Heaven's Vault. As soon as he finished speaking, the fluctuation of the teleportation spell flashed across his body. Tsing Hui's eyes were also filled with ferocity. However, when he thought of the incomprehensible characteristic of the teleportation technique, he felt helpless even if he wanted to make the Brilliant Sun Emperor stay. As he put away the Lihan Heaven realm again, he looked in the direction where the Brilliant Sun Emperor had left with a faint sense of unwillingness. Could it be that the teleportation technique really can't be solved unless I use the War of Chaos to strip the opponent of their chaos level? Or if his teleportation technique happens to be in cooldown? Every time I defeat the opponent's divinity, the opponent can use the teleportation technique to escape? As he thought about this, a light bulb suddenly flashed in Tsing Hui's mind. I wonder if the characteristic of the dimensional lock born at the 60th level of chaos will work. The dimensional lock can lock onto a location, and the target will return after 24 hours. What if I set the dimensional lock on the enemy? When he thought of this, Tsing Hui's eyes suddenly lit up. If the target's teleportation technique teleported him to a spatial mezzanine, he could ignore it. After all, If he rashly entered a spatial mezzanine, he would face a much more dangerous situation than a divinity who had condensed a domain's origin. However, if the opponent's teleportation technique teleported him to a location that he thought was safe, then he could use the dimensional lock's characteristic to suddenly appear in front of the opponent and kill him in one blow. However, the only problem with this characteristic was, what if the opponent returned to their base camp? If he used the dimensional lock, wouldn't he be trapped in the enemy's camp? Wait a minute, if I remember correctly, those large sects with deep foundations basically have a large number of dust-repellent stones that are specially used to interfere with teleportation techniques. Therefore, even if the enemy returns to the sect, he will at most be at the mountain gate and will not be able to enter the mountain's protective array. As long as the dimensional lock is activated quickly enough and does not give him time to enter the protective array, activate quickly enough. If he used the backtrack technique to deduce the dimensional lock, as long as his dimensional lock could reach the 5th level, he would be able to freely control the activation time after it mutated. 600 Taoist rhymes. Let's give it a try. If it really works, the law of divinities being almost impossible to kill will be broken in my hands. Xing Hui immediately came to a decision. After solving the problem of Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun and Emperor Lord Blacklight, Xing Hui turned around and once again chased after the Almighties of the Divine Wilderness. The Almighties of the Divine Wilderness clearly had a special method to spy on Xing Hui. After sensing that Xing Hui had attacked Emperor Lord Brilliant Sun and Emperor Lord Blacklight, they quickly turned around and fled. However, no matter how fast they could not be faster than Xing Hui, who was flying on his sword at over 100,000 kilometers per hour. Soon, the four Almighties, Xue Xiao, Qi Wuming, Hurricane, and Dusk, were severely injured and captured by him with the power of his sword. Based on the current situation, Tianqiong had already started an all-out war with the heavenly axiom. It was not a good time to make new enemies. Therefore, after capturing Xue Xiao, Qi Wuming, Hurricane, and Dusk alive, he did not kill them. He only locked them up first and considered how to deal with them after the battle between Tianqiong and the heavenly axiom came to an end. Swoosh! With a flash of light, Xing Hui had already returned to the Bieli mountain range. Senior! Su Fei and Scorpion immediately went up to him. Xing Hui's gaze immediately turned to Scorpion. Has the lightning punishment been attacked? It's all thanks to Senior defeating their reinforcements and causing him to have a mental breakdown. I only need to torture him a little and he has already spat out all the treasures and chaos techniques in his personal storage space. Scorpion replied respectfully. Alright. Xing Hui replied heavily. The lightning punishment Daelord's items had come at the right time. With Scorpion leading the way, Xing Hui quickly arrived at a room. Upon entering the room, the first thing that entered Xing Hui's eyes was the lightning punishment Daelord's rank 13 Thunder God Spear and the rank 14 4 Divisions Pearl. The 4 Divisions Pearl is a defensive treasure that can only be found by chance. Even many saints may not have it. Such precious items can only be sold within the Sky Dome sect and Rainbow Sword sect. Selling it to others is equivalent to funding the enemy and will only increase the enemy's strength. However, the Thunder God Spear can be sold as soon as possible. A rank 13 divine weapon might not be as valuable as a rank 13 armor, but it can still be easily sold for 300 Taoist rhymes in a hurry. The Lightning Punishment Daolord was clearly one of the top existences among the 36 Daolords. Otherwise, the Heavenly Dao would not have entrusted him with such an important task of overseeing the Kongli continent. Therefore, not only did he have a powerful divine weapon, but his chaos level had also reached an astonishing rank 29. In addition, Xing Hui had also obtained 124 Taoist rhymes from him. Clearly, if Xing Hui had not defeated the Lightning Punishment Daolord with sword intent, he could have raised his chaos level to rank 30 and teleported away. A rank 29 chaos level can easily be sold for 150 Taoist rhymes in a hurry. In addition to the Thunder Punishment Daolord's Taoist treasure and the Thunder God Spear that he intends to sell, I have close to 600 Taoist rhymes in total. Xing Hui did some calculations and was very satisfied with his gains. He could not help but look forward to the gains from the Black Sky Daolord and Demonic Mantle Daolord. However, with the willpower of an astronomical phenomenon expert, it was not difficult for him to endure 2 to 3 days of torture. If the lightning punishment Tao Lord had not suffered a few days of torture and suffered a severe mental breakdown from Tsing Hui, he would not have been in such a sorry state. Therefore, it would take a few more days for the Black Sky Tao Lord and Demonic Mantle Tao Lord to submit to him. However, the current situation in Sky Dome sect made it impossible for him to wait any longer. Su Fei. Senior, what are your orders? Tsing Hui waved his hand and a huge machine that was 3 meters tall appeared in front of him. This is the Scarlet Sun Demon God. The Scarlet Sun Demon God. Although Su Fei was only a cultivator from a small place like the Kongli continent, he had been in the Chaos Divine Palace to connect with the outside world. Naturally, he had heard about the Scarlet Sun Demon God who had caused a stir. His eyes immediately lit up. Sir, this is... The Scarlet Sun Demon God is equivalent to an astronomical phenomenon expert. Even if you go in and control it, you will be able to unleash combat power that surpasses that of an ordinary almighty. I have to leave the Kongli continent for a period of time. If anyone from the Heavenly Tao dares to cause trouble, kill them with the Scarlet Sun Demon God. Do you understand? Yes, Senior. Su Fei looked at the powerful Scarlet Sun Demon God in front of him, and could not help but feel excited when he thought of those saints who were several realms stronger than him being killed by this terrifying monster. If there are any problems that you can't solve, send me a message immediately. Tsing Hui said. Time was of the essence and he could not delay any longer. He immediately projected his consciousness into the Chaos Temple and was about to contact Master Tsangzhen to get a spiritual coordinate. However, before he could find Master Tsangzhen had already found him with a serious expression. Tsing Hui, things are not good. The Chaos Holy Man has personally taken everyone into the Chaos Realm. The culprit behind all of this is the Red Rock Sword Sage of the White Rainbow Sword sect. He leaked all of our plans to the Anisrava Holy Man. Now, the Heavenly Axiom is trying its best to gather all the available divinities from all over the world, trying to send them into the primal chaos realm to kill Firmament, Zhu Zhao, Bai Heng, Long Rainbow, and Yu Ying who are trapped in the primal chaos realm. We must stop them. The Scarlet Rock Sword Sage? Although Tsing Hui had already guessed that there was something wrong with the Scarlet Rock Sword Sage, his eyes were still filled with killing intent when he heard Master Tsangzhen's words. The Scarlet Rock Sword Sage has already escaped from the White Rainbow Sword sect. However, now is not the time to track his whereabouts. We have to find a way to stop the saints of the Heavenly Tao from entering the Chaos Realm. Tsing Hui, we have to put aside the matter of the Kongli continent. Although it is related to the profit of 5,000 to 6,000 Taoist rhymes, if we don't handle the matter of the Kongli Peak well, Firmament will be in danger of being destroyed. I understand. I'll be right back. Chapter 666. Tsing Hui did not return to the heavens, but to the Baihong Sword sect. At this point, the Zhangzhen master had already rushed to the Baihong Sword sect. The person in charge of hosting the meeting at the Baihong Sword sect was the Pengguang Sword Master. After being betrayed by his most trusted disciple, the Pengguang Sword Master was visibly dispirited. Besides the Pengguang Sword Master, 2 other divine sword masters from the Sword Shadow sect had arrived. They were the Xingyi Swordmaster and the current Qingying Swordmaster. The current Qingying Swordmaster was one of the best in the divine stage. After inheriting the Qingying sword, he was given the title of Qingying Swordmaster. He was one of the best in the 10 most powerful cultivators, and was much stronger than the Holy Master of the Bottomless Chasm and the Jade Emperor Holy Man, Pengguang Swordmaster, Xingyi Swordmaster, Qingying Swordmaster. Tsing Hui nodded at the 3 swordmasters in the main hall. When they saw Qing Su's arrival, aside from the other great figures, the Pengguang Swordmaster, the Xingyi Swordmaster, and even the Shadow-bearing Swordmaster all stood up at the same time. They said seriously, Swordmaster White Ruins. To boost their morale, news of Tsing Hui defeating 5 divine stage cultivators, including the Sky-splitting Holy Master, the Zhurong Holy Man and the brilliant Sun Emperor, was spread by the Zhangzhen Master. This battle was enough to establish Tsing Hui's status as a divine stage cultivator. When they saw Tsing Hui, the Pengguang Swordmaster, Xingyi Swordmaster, and the Qingying Swordmaster all stood up to show their respect. After all, even though the Qingying Swordmaster was on the list of most powerful cultivators, his strength was completely based on the Qingying Sword, a Class 18 divine weapon. Without the Qingying Sword, he was barely a Class 3 or even a Class 2 divine stage cultivator. Just call me Tsing Hui. Pak Hui is just a pseudonym of the Chaos Holy Hall. Tsing Hui said. The Xingyi Swordmaster and the Qingying Swordmasters smiled and nodded. It's unfortunate that something like this happened to our family. I'm sorry. The Pengguang Swordmaster's face was full of regret. Man walks to higher places, water flows to lower places. Before the trump card of esteemed Zhu Zhao was revealed, everyone felt that they would have a better future if they followed the heavenly axiom. Therefore, it was not strange for phenomena like the broken sword and the red rock to appear. Let's not talk about the past. What's the situation over there now? At present, the entire Karma Peak has been covered by the Chaos Realm. We can't see what's happening inside, but we can infer from the occasional distortion of the Chaos Realm that the battle is still going on. The Pengguang Swordmaster said, the only good news at present is that esteemed Zhu Zhao has broken through to the profound Void Realm. It's not as easy for the Chaos Holy Master to trap esteemed Zhu Zhao, who is at the profound Void Realm, as he has to maintain the stability of the Chaos Realm at all times. Therefore, if we really want to capture esteemed Zhu Zhao, the Firmament Holy Master, the Bai Heng Swordmaster, the Rainbow Swordmaster, and the Shadow Swordmaster in one fell swoop, there are only two ways. One is to use the Chaos Realm's characteristic of cutting off the pneuma of the outside world to exhaust the 5 great saints of the 3 parties to death. However, the aura of Saint Realm experts is long. It will take at least 1 or 2 years to exhaust the 5 great saints of the 3 parties to death. The other way is to send saints into the Chaos Realm. As long as there are enough saints in the Chaos Realm, they will be able to kill us one by one. Even if we can't kill them, the 5 great saints of the 3 parties will consume their strength when fighting with these saints, which will indirectly achieve the purpose of exhausting the 5 great saints of the 3 parties. If we only rely on exhausting the 7 great saints of the 3 parties, they may be in danger, but they won't be able to exhaust esteemed Zhu Zhao to death. Tsing Hui said. Reverend Zhu Zhao had the originator in his body. The originator could continuously absorb energy from the alternate space to replenish itself. Therefore, it was impossible to exhaust Reverend Zhu Zhao to death. Reverend Zhu Zhao would probably still be alive and kicking even if Chaos Holy Man ran out of energy. Can't exhaust him to death? The Pengguang Swordmaster was slightly taken aback and somewhat confused. However, after hearing his words, the 3 Swordmasters were relieved at the same time. The battle strength of esteemed Zhu Zhao alone is equivalent to the total strength of the Firmament Holy Master, the Bai Heng Swordmaster, and the others. If the method of exhaustion is ineffective on esteemed Zhu Zhao, then we will have a much longer time to maneuver. As long as we pin down enough saints of the Way of Heaven in the outside world and prevent more than 10 saints from entering the Chaos Realm, we won't have to worry about their lives for 3 or 4 years. 10 saints? The Way of Heaven can gather 10 saints? The Chaos Holy Master can't move, the Zhurong Holy Master has been killed by me, the Lihan Holy Master has yet to return, and the Qingwei Holy Master is severely injured. That's 4 less. The Divine Path sect needs a saint to guard the sect and can't move. The remaining 4, including the 4 from the Way of Heaven, are only 8. Even if we include the Heavenly Lord of Heartless, there are only 9. Furthermore, will the Way of Heaven really dare to come out in full force? The saints of the other factions don't dare to come out in full force, but the Way of Heaven, they really dare. Swordmaster Xingyi smiled bitterly. The Way of Heaven has the strongest protective mountain array in the entire Divine Wilderness. Its level is above the Eternal and Divine Wilderness 13th level, reaching an astonishing 15th level. You didn't hear wrong, it's not 14th level, but 15th level. This is a supreme array set up by an array formation master of the Way of Heaven in ancient times. This array formation was originally 17th level, but because there was no one to maintain it, it was constantly weakened and maintained at 15th level. However, a 15th level array is still enough to make the way of heaven impregnable. Even ordinary vacuum level experts would find it difficult to break through it. Even if this array formation was presided over by a mighty figure or an embodiment of heaven or earth realm expert, it would be impossible for less than 2 Saint Realm experts to break through it. Swordmaster Xingyi's words rendered Xing Hui somewhat speechless. The Way of Heaven was an array formation master. They could even set up a 12th level array formation in a small place like Karma Peak that was similar to an outpost. It was an array formation that was equivalent to the protective mountain array of a top sect. What could they do? In fact, if they really fought head-on, the Divine Wilderness's overall strength was definitely above the Way of Heaven. However, once the array formations were included, the Way of Heaven would immediately become the strongest faction in the Divine Wilderness. This was also the reason why the Way of Heaven dared to stir up trouble in the Divine Wilderness. They had nothing to fear. Like the Divine Wilderness and Eternal, they were much more low-key than the Way of Heaven. Is there a way to destroy the Chaos Primordial world? Xing Hui asked. Impossible. Swordmaster Pengguang shook his head and said somewhat dejectedly, the Chaos Primordial world's sturdiness is beyond your imagination. Especially the insightful Void Realm, which focuses on increasing one's defense. It has allowed the Chaos Primordial world, who is already adept at defense, to reach an almost heaven-defying level. For example, during the Saint Realm, if we could gather 10 saints, we would be able to tear his Chaos Primordial world apart. However, at the insightful Void Realm, even if we could gather 10 insightful Void Realm giants, we would not be able to do anything to his Chaos Primordial world. I even suspect that even if an invincible vacuum-level expert were to personally attack, it would not be something that could be done in a short period of time. Swordmaster Xingyi nodded. Then we can only drag it out? The point is, if we drag it out, we may not be able to. Swordmaster Pengguang said regretfully, according to my understanding, esteemed Zhu Zhao suddenly attacked and severely injured Wu Lu Dao Master, but he did not kill him. In addition, he attacked again and forced a saint of the divine path to use a teleportation technique to escape into a spatial mezzanine. Even so, the Way of Heaven and the Divine Path sect still have 7 saints. In addition to Heavenly Lord Merciless and a mysterious saint from outside the Infinite Wasteland domain, there are 9 saints. Even if the Divine Path sect must leave someone to guard it, there are still 8 people who can be mobilized and our side. At this point, he glanced at Xing Hui, then at Swordmaster Xingyi, Swordmaster Qingying, and the others, but did not say anything. 3. Their side only had 3 saints who could be mobilized. If the situation becomes dangerous, Swordmaster Xingyi of Sword Shadow can also step in. Swordmaster Xingyi said. Swordmaster Xingyi was the Swordmaster in charge of Sword Shadow, like Swordmaster Pengguang of the Rainbow Sword Sect and the Swordmaster of Firmament Domain. However, Firmament Domain and Sword Shadow belonged to the Primal Chaos organization, and their foundation was in the Primal Chaos Divine Palace and not the real world. At the critical moment, they could be mobilized. For saints is still not enough, because I am worried that they will take advantage of the fact that the main forces of our 3 forces are trapped in the Primal Chaos domain to attack our sect. When Sword Master Pengguang said this, his expression turned solemn. Anisrava Dao Sovereign is the #1 array master in the Divine Wilderness. Our protective array can withstand other sages, but against Anisrava Dao Sovereign, it might not be able to do its job. The array is ineffective and the other party has 8 sages. If they all attack together, they can completely destroy Heaven Vault Sect, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Sword Shadow. The only thing to be thankful for now is that Wu Lu Dao Master has been severely injured by esteemed Zhu Zhao. We still have a few months to think of a way to resolve the crisis. It is best if we can find enough reinforcements. Otherwise, once Wu Lu Dao Master recovers from his injuries and leads the 8 saints to come back, we 4 saints will not be able to resist. Sword Master Xingyi said. Being divine doesn't necessarily mean having more people. The Chaos Holy Man who put us in danger alone is the best example. Xing Hui stood up at this time. There is no point in discussing more here. Let's go to Causal Peak and take a look. Okay. Heaven Lord Heartless, Wu Lu Dao Master, Tai Huang Dao Master, as well as Heaven Lord Water Virtue, Heaven Lord Cloud Virtue, and Heaven Lord Shangshan of the Divine Path sect are on Causal Peak. There are 6 saints in total. It is not safe for you to go alone. We will go with you, Sword Master Shadow-Bearing Sword said. Although Master Tsang Zhen had said that Tsing Hui had the battle strength of a supreme expert, the Shadow-Bearing Sword, Sword Master Xingyi, and the others were still worried because they had not seen it with their own eyes. Tsing Hui pondered for a while, then nodded. All right, let's go together. Sword Master Pengguang also said, we will activate the protective mountain formation of the Fogbow Sword sect. If you encounter any danger, just return to the Fogbow Sword sect. I believe that without Wu Lu Dao Master, they would not dare to barge into the Fogbow Sword sect. Tsing Hui and the others nodded. The 3 of them leaped up and headed in the direction of Causal Peak. Chapter 667. Karma Peak. Tsing Hui, the Qingying Sword Master and the Xingyi Sword Master looked in that direction from afar. Even though they were a few hundred kilometers away, they could still clearly see the chaotic world above the Karma Peak. This chaotic world was extremely large, spanning a few hundred kilometers. It was as if a gray ball of gas had condensed into a single entity. Outside the ball of gas, there were surging balls of gas. From time to time, one could see streaks of fire escaping from the ball of gas, accompanied by faint dragon roars. That was the counterattack of the Zhuzhao exalted being. Unfortunately, the Primal Chaos Holy Man's Primal Chaos Realm was the most powerful restraining method in the Divine Wilderness. When he had just stepped into the first Saint stage and formed the Primal Chaos Realm, he had already been able to trap the 14 saints for a day. It should be known that the 14 saints were not ordinary saints, and there were many outstanding saints among them. Under such circumstances, the Chaos Holy Man was able to trap the 14 divine saints for a day. One could imagine how powerful the chaotic world was. Heavenly Lord Heartless, Styx River Holy Man, Wu Se Holy Man, Water Virtue Heavenly Lord, Cloud Virtue Heavenly Lord Shangshan. 6 divine saints, not one is missing. Qing Su looked at the place where the chaotic world was located sternly. Styx River Holy Man is also here. It seems like the Grand Emperor Holy Man is in charge of the heavenly way. The Xingyi Sword Master frowned. Among the 6 divine saints, the Heavenly Lord Heartless was the most powerful. He belonged to the 3rd type of divine saint. Even though he was slightly inferior to the sky-splitting Holy Man, he only needed to team up with any other divine saint to be comparable to the Qingying Sword Master. The remaining Styx River Holy Man and the Heavenly Lord Shangshan belonged to the 2nd type of divine saint. The Styx River Holy Man was one of the best in the 2nd type of divine saint. He was very close to the 3rd type of divine saint. His combat power was not inferior to the Heavenly Lord. If these 2 divine saints worked together and had the support of another divine saint, they could still match up to an ultimate divine saint. I will think of a way to deal with the Styx River Sword Master and the Heavenly Lord Heartless. Sword Master Xingyi, you will deal with the Wu Se Holy Man. The rest will be left to you, Tsing Hui. How about that? The master of the shadow-bearing sword muttered to himself for a while before assigning the items. As for whether Tsing Hui truly possessed the powers of an ultimate powerhouse, he was not very confident. After all, even though Tsing Hui had defeated the Heaven Way, Eternity and the Divine Wilderness, according to what he knew, before Tsing Hui attacked the 5 great holy beings, they had already fought. No one knew the state of the 5 great holy beings and the extent of their injuries. Furthermore, the sky-splitting holy man was forced to teleport away by Tsing Hui's sneak attack. That was why Tsing Hui's powers could not be fully displayed in that battle. It was because of this that the Qingying Sword's owner chose to take on the Styx River Holy Man and the Heavenly Lord of Mercilessness. Alright, I will deal with the rest. At the same time, I will think of a way to attack the chaotic primordial world. Then you have to be careful. According to what we know, Exalted Zhuzhao, Exalted Firmament, and the others attacked Karma Peak but did not completely destroy the mountain protecting array on Karma Peak. Although the mountain protecting array was damaged to a certain extent, it still has a great deterrent force after being activated. And the primal chaos realm is within the range of the Karma Peak's mountain protecting array. The master of the Xingyi sword reminded him seriously. The protective formation of the Karma Peak. Xing Hui pondered for a while. Perhaps I have a way to completely destroy the protective formation of the Karma Peak. The eyes of the master of the Xingyi sword lit up. Then what are you waiting for? The master of the shadow-bearing sword also urged. In fact, the reason why they found it difficult to rescue the chaotic primordial world was mainly because they were wary of the protective formation of the Karma Peak. If the protective formation of the Karma Peak was not included, the three of them, with two supreme experts, might not be much weaker than the Sky Dao and the Divine Path sect combined. At the very least, if the Sky Dao really dared to let all the Divine Path sages enter the chaotic primordial world to exhaust the Zhenjiao holy man and the rest, they could totally join forces to destroy the Divine Path sect's mountain gate and even cause the Sky Dao great losses. I need some time, Xing Hui said, then began to use the aura examination technique to investigate the earth vein of the Karma Peak. A 12th level formation. The power of the earth vein is indeed extremely strong. Furthermore, it is no longer limited to drawing power from the earth vein. More of its power comes from the void, from the laws. Xing Hui observed for a while and frowned slightly. What's wrong? The master of the shadow-bearing sword asked when he noticed that Xing Hui's expression was not right. It's a little troublesome. I thought that I would be able to destroy this formation very quickly, but now it seems that it won't be an easy task. It would be much more difficult for him to destroy this grand formation if it wasn't completely set up by the energy of the earth veins. Fortunately, esteemed Zhu Zhao, esteemed Sky Dome, and the others had already torn open many holes in the Karma Peak's grand formation. So long as he destroyed the grand formation's earth veins, then even if the grand formation didn't vanish completely, its might would plummet. At the very least, it wouldn't be able to affect saints any longer. Can it work? Let me try, Xing Hui said. Before long, Xing Hui had already understood the earth vein of the Karma Peak. Then, his figure flashed and he landed on a mountain peak that was only 1,000 kilometers away from the Karma Peak. After landing on the mountain peak, Xing Hui immediately took out a treasure that he had not used for a long time. It was the earth-shaking rod that could cause the earth to tremble. As his cultivation increased, the effects of this item naturally increased by a lot. After taking out the earth-shaking rod, Xing Hui infused it with his true origin and began to hit the ground. As soon as he hit it, a crack with a diameter of 100 meters appeared on the ground. A terrifying tremor spread through the crack and into the depths of the ground. If this power was used against a protective formation of the Create Evolve Mysterious sect, it would only take a few hits to completely destroy the formation foundation of the Create Evolve Mysterious sect. However, the earth vein of the formation of the Karma Peak was too vast. As Xing Hui continued to attack, the tremor grew stronger and stronger. If this continued, it could form a prairie fire and completely destroy the Karma Peak. However, the speed was much slower than Xing Hui had imagined. This unique treasure is really extraordinary. Sword Master Xingyi sensed for a moment and quickly understood the principles behind the earth-shaking rod's operation. His eyes immediately lit up. This treasure destroys formations by destroying earth veins and mountain ranges. It's extremely effective against ordinary great formations. Even if a level 12 great formation is embedded in the void and can absorb energy from the void, once the earth veins are destroyed, the might of the formation will still be greatly reduced. At that time, it won't require 2 or even 3 times the strength to break through the enemy's base. Even so, the effect is still too weak against a 12th level formation. Once we use the earth-shaking rod to attack, they will naturally sense it. At that time, we only need to take the initiative to attack. Furthermore, my attack cannot be too far away from the formation. After they have exhausted their energy, they can return to replenish it. However, we have to stay here and be on full alert. Naturally, our situation will not be easy. As Xing Hui spoke, he gave up on the idea of using the earth-shaking rod to destroy the formation of the Karma Peak. This kind of tactic can only be used when we have a huge advantage. The shadow-bearing Sword Master sighed. Sword Master Xingyi nodded his head. They did not have an advantage against the Heavenly Way. If they still had to waste the power of a supreme expert like Tsing Hui, how could they fight? I hope that our actions have already attracted them over. At that time, they will definitely attack me first. Let me see if I can take advantage of the fact that they are not familiar with my powers to explode with all my power and defeat one of them. Tsing Hui said, "You killed the Zhurong holy man and forced the Qingwei holy woman to escape using her teleportation technique. The Heavenly Way should have received the news." Sword Master Xingyi did not have high hopes. "We will do our best and leave the rest to fate." Tsing Hui also did not have much confidence. As the tremors on the ground became stronger and stronger, the 6 great sages of the Heavenly Way and the Celestial Way rushed over. When they sensed that Tsing Hui, the shadow-bearing Sword Master, the Xingyi Sword Master and the rest were trying to destroy the formation of the Karma Peak, the Styx River holy man laughed. "I was wondering who it was. So it's the scoundrels from the Shadow Sword sect. Why, you are finally not hiding and amusing yourselves, and have chosen to reveal yourselves. Be careful, holy man. If I am not wrong, the young man who is controlling the strange object and trying to destroy the formation of the Karma Peak is Tsing Hui from the heavens. He has awakened an unparalleled abhijna and possesses an unparalleled divine weapon. According to the Qingwei holy woman, with the power of his abhijna and divine weapon, his powers are not inferior to that of a supreme expert." Wu Sei holy man said softly, "It's him? The death of the Zhurong holy man is suspected to be caused by him?" The Styx River holy man's gaze landed on Tsing Hui and his eyes were filled with ferocity. "Styx River, I have seen news of Tsing Hui before. He has cultivated for less than 40 years and has already achieved so much. If he is not eliminated early, he will become a huge threat to us. Wu Sei, I need you to use your colorless spell to trap the shadow-bearing Sword Master and the Xingyi Sword Master. The rest of us will combine our powers and try to kill him." The Heavenly Lord Wuqing said coldly, "If I am to trap the shadow-bearing Sword Master and the Xingyi Sword Master, I can only hold on for 3 breaths. Furthermore, if the colorless spell is destroyed, my origin will be damaged. When that happens, unless I use my innate spiritual aura to make up for it, I will not be able to fight in a short period of time." Wu Sei holy man said unwillingly. The Styx River holy man waved his hand. "The Heavenly Lord Wuqing is right. Tsing Hui is too big a threat. He has cultivated for less than 40 years and has already achieved so much. If he is allowed to continue growing, he will threaten the plan of the Heavenly Way. That's why we have to kill him before he becomes too powerful to resist. His threat is not inferior to that of Zhuzhao." Wu Sei holy man heard the Styx River holy man's words. Although he was unwilling, he still nodded his head reluctantly. "I will try my best to delay them." Alright. As the Styx River holy man said, the group of them had already arrived above Tsing Hui, the shadow-bearing Sword Master and the Xingyi Sword Master. After that, they did not waste any time and shouted, "Kill!" In the next moment, the formless Tao Venerate took the lead, directly enveloping the shadow-bearing Sword Master and the Xingyi Sword Master with the formless world barrier. Afterwards, the Nether River Taoist, the Heavenly Lord of Heartless, the Heavenly Lord of Goodness, the Heavenly Lord of Water Virtue, and the Heavenly Lord of Cloud Virtue lunged down at the same time. Terrifying, tremendous power of domains descended from above, devouring Qing Su immediately. Chapter 668. His first target is the Tsing Hui Sword Master? Oh no, the Tsing Hui Sword Master is extremely talented. He cannot fall so easily. Furthermore, he has yet to enter the divine stage. Once he is trapped in the void, his chances of escaping alive are less than half of a normal divine sage. The shadow-bearing sword and Xingyi Sword Master sensed the intentions of the Styx River holy man, the Heavenly Lord of Ruthlessness and the rest. They exploded and a powerful sword aura shot into the heavens, converting into huge swords. They clashed with the colorless spell world of the colorless holy man. A circle of energy ripples that were visible to the naked eye shot in all directions, tearing the surrounding air into pieces. Whereas the expression of the colorless holy man changed. The vital energy in his body was disrupted by the tremors, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. "Hurry up!" the colorless holy man roared. After that, the origin of his domain was ignited and converted into a torrent of energy that was injected into the colorless spell world. This stabilized the colorless spell world. Suppress him. Love Destroyer. Fallen Styx River. Control Spell. As the shadow-bearing sword and Shingi sword master clashed with the colorless holy man, the attacks of the 5 divine sages had already turned into a torrential storm. They surrounded Tsing Hui from all directions. Even though his speed was twice as fast as a normal divine sage, he was still helpless against such an unavoidable attack. As he faced the attacks of the 5 divine sages, he made a decision in his mind. He locked his gaze on the Styx River holy man, who was the fastest. He allowed the fallen Styx River to corrode his body and did not dodge. He roared, and his sword mind and Abhijna were unleashed. He was like a bright shooting star that was burning his essence and life. He carried an intense aura as he clashed with the Styx River holy man. As the Styx River holy man saw Tsing Hui charging towards him, a ferocious look flashed across his eyes. At this point, if he dodged, Tsing Hui would definitely create an opening for him. From there, he would be able to escape from the encirclement of the 5 divine sages. But if he did not dodge, at best, both sides would suffer great losses. Furthermore, as he was surrounded by Heavenly Monarch Wuqing, Heavenly Monarch Shangshan, Heavenly Monarch Shuide, and other saints, before Tsing Hui and Heavenly Monarch Tsing Hui were both severely injured, the second round of attacks from these saints would have already arrived and minced him into pieces. Suppress him. Nether River holy man let out a low roar, and the torrential river formed by the fallen Nether River collided rapidly with the sword light of the Sword of Sunlight that Tsing Hui had slashed into the void. In an instant, a shockwave visible to the naked eye exploded and swept wildly in all directions. Then, before it could spread for 100 meters, it was crushed and suppressed by the power of the domain that was constantly surging. Sunburst! A long roar erupted the moment the Nether River holy man's fallen underworld river was defeated. Then it was the 3rd sword, the 4th sword, the 5th sword. As he was surrounded by the 5 divine sages, Tsing Hui did not dare to hold back anymore. Streaks and streaks of Sword of Sunlight that were activated to the extreme were like blazing suns. They exploded crazily and tore the domain of the Styx River holy man into pieces. In addition, with Tsing Hui's new understanding of the rules of nature, even though he was not using the divine spell, he was still able to unleash an attack that was close to destroying the vacuum. As the rules of nature trembled, his sword had already torn the domain of the Styx River holy man into pieces. Such a powerful sword technique? Not good. As the Styx River holy man felt the sword radiance that was coming towards him, he immediately retreated. And at this point, the Heavenly Monarch Wuqing and the Heavenly Monarch Shuide, who were following closely behind him, finally arrived. The Heavenly Monarch Wuqing's Love Destroyer slashed down. The Love Destroyer did not seem to possess any power, nor did it possess any earth-shattering might, but it seemed to have completely fused with space. It was silent and as fast as lightning. When Qing Su managed to catch on to the trajectory of the slash had already landed on his body, splitting him open from his shoulder. At the same time, the Love Destroyer intent within the Love Destroyer slashed into his mental world, causing his mental world to shake violently. It was so great that a regular saint would have been stunned for half a second if he had been in Qing Su's place. Die! And taking advantage of this opportunity, the Heavenly Monarch Shuide had already clenched his fist. All the blood in Tsing Hui's body seemed to be pulled by an invisible force and was about to be sucked out completely. After that, it turned into a destructive force and blew him into pieces. But just as the blood in Tsing Hui's body was about to explode under the control of the Heavenly Monarch Shuide, Tsing Hui suddenly opened his eyes wide. A powerful sword aura came crashing down and shook the Heavenly Monarch Shuide's spiritual world violently. Immediately, the Heavenly Monarch Shuide thought that he could kill Tsing Hui with one strike. Even though his reaction speed was extremely fast and he woke up from Tsing Hui's sword aura, what welcomed him was a blazing fire that burned void space. Not good, he is not affected by the love destroyer. Shu'ai'd retreat. The heavenly monarch Shangshan let out a low roar and then suddenly clapped his hands together in the direction of Tsing Hui. His domain power collided with the clapping of his hands, and a visible void shock wave burst out from the center of the collision. The shock wave swept out at an extremely fast speed. The domain power that the heavenly monarch Shu'ai did not have time to withdraw in time was like a piece of tofu that was bombarded by the sonic boom and was instantly shattered. From this, one could see how powerful the shock wave was. Void shock wave. The blazing flame torrent and the void shock wave came one after another. If Tsing Hui really wanted to slash down with his sword, then the moment his sword light swept past the heavenly monarch Shu'ai, his body would definitely be crushed into powder by the shock wave. Besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. This was the method of besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. When the heavenly monarch Shu'ai saw this scene, there was even a trace of relief in his eyes. He did not believe that this talented, peerless genius in front of him would sacrifice himself for the people of Tianqiong and choose to ignore the void shock wave behind him and exchange his life for his own. Unfortunately, before his expression of relief could completely spread, the Scarlet Abyss Sword's sword light didn't stop at all. It swept past Heavenly Lord Shuaida's head with incomparable decisiveness. Under his shocked gaze, it directly beheaded him. The spreading energy waves wrapped around his entire body in the next second, burning him to ashes. This dignified divine sage trusted his own judgment and did not even have time to use the teleportation technique. He became the first divine sage to fall on the Karma Peak battlefield. No! Seeing this scene, the heavenly monarch Shangshan's eyes were about to split open as he let out an unwilling roar. His eyes were filled with pain. The power of the void shock wave seemed to have sensed its master's grief and instantly wrapped around the culprit's body, crushing him into powder. Perishing together. Tsing Hui's choice was to perish together. This result not only stunned the heavenly monarch Heartless and the Stygian River Holy Man, but also the heavenly monarch Virtuous Cloud and the heavenly monarch Shangshan of the Divine Tao sect. This was like a peerless genius who was destined to climb to the peak of the world with unlimited potential. Just because his seniors were in danger, and he wasn't even at the end of his rope, he directly started a life and death battle with the enemy. He didn't care about his own life at all. It didn't conform to common sense, however. The heavenly monarch Heartless reacted extremely quickly. In an instant he thought of something and suddenly exclaimed, "Backtracking technique! Backtracking technique! It's backtracking technique! The backtracking technique that the Son of Chaos has at level 40. Everyone be careful!" Almost at the same moment the heavenly monarch Heartless exclaimed, Tsing Hui, who had been reduced to ashes by the heavenly monarch Shangshan's void shock wave, suddenly appeared. He did not seem to be affected at all. Moreover, while everyone was stunned and the heavenly monarch Shangshan was still grieving, Tsing Hui's body was like a stream of light. The dazzling and blazing power of the deep scarlet sword, which belonged to the Sword of Sunlight, erupted once again. Sunlight. This sword was like a nuclear bomb that had been thrown into the ground. It exploded with dazzling light and heat, and the power of the explosion instantly annihilated the heavenly monarch Shangshan's domain power. Heavenly monarch Shangshan, be careful! The heavenly monarch Heartless roared, and the love destroyer condensed and slashed out once again. This special magical power that was integrated with the law of space was unbelievably fast and strange. Even his attacking method could not be described as speed. It was a bit similar to the Torch Dragon talent Backlight Strike that Tsing Hui had previously awakened. It was a talent that would hit the target as soon as the sword was drawn in the eyes of others. However, compared to the Backlight Strike that had the obvious flaw of having a spiritual value limitation, the heavenly monarch Heartless Love Destroyer was obviously more mysterious and obscure. Even though Tsing Hui had taken the initiative to attack the heavenly monarch Shangshan, his attack arrived first, forcing Tsing Hui, who did not have the backtracking technique, to have no choice but to dodge. And in this short delay, the heavenly monarch Shangshan, who was grieving, had already recovered from his shock. Flowing light circulated on his body, and he had already summoned a defensive treasure, brazenly blocking the sunlight sword that Xing Hui had slashed out. What a pity! Amidst the dissipating flames and scorching heat, Xing Hui sighed regretfully. After that, his body and sword became one. Like a streak of bright flowing light, he escaped from the gap formed by the death of the heavenly monarch of water virtue and the retreat of the Styx River holy man, and escaped from the encirclement of the 4 holy sages. And once he escaped from the encirclement, the flying speed and reaction speed of his chasing light were unleashed. The remaining Styx River holy man, the heavenly monarch Heartless, the heavenly monarch Shangshan, and the virtuous cloud holy man had to concentrate to keep up with his speed, much less attack him together like they did at the beginning. The speed, even compared to those immortal void stage cultivators who can penetrate void space, he is not much inferior. Relying on this speed, as long as he is not surrounded, he is undefeatable among those in the Grand Dominion realm. It's too fast. Furthermore, the power of his swordplay is too great. Any one of us can't restrain him. Just as we trapped him, he tore our domain apart and escaped. Furthermore, it's wishful thinking to think that 2 or even 3 of us can attack him at the same time. Ultimate powerhouse. This person truly possesses the powers of an ultimate powerhouse. The rumors are not false. In fact, he is even more frightening than the rumors. He is even more powerful than an ordinary ultimate powerhouse. The few holy sages' expressions turned ugly. I can't block it anymore. And at this point, the was holy man also shouted. Following that, 2 streaks of sword radiance shot into the sky, causing the remaining 4 holy sages' expressions to change. They could not even deal with one Xing Hui, what more the owner of the Qingying sword. Chapter 669. The owner of the shadow-bearing sword is out. The heavenly lord of Heartless pupils shrank. If we can't trap Qing Su, we won't be his opponent at all no matter how he erupts with his speed. We'll have to borrow the leakless great astrolabe to trap him. Right now, let's retreat. Otherwise, with our current strength, we won't be able to fight against 2 powerful individuals at the same time. The Styx River holy man made a prompt decision. Let's go. While the heavenly lord of goodness was unwilling to accept the death of the heavenly lord of Shueda, he also understood that the few of them would not be able to fight against 2 powerful individuals. Go! Did I allow you to go? The master of the shadow-bearing sword's face was cold. In the next moment he actually shot off, as if he had directly fused with space, vanishing from everyone's vision just like that. Let alone regular saints, even Qing Su was unable to sense the master of the shadow-bearing sword's location. It's the phantom-killing spell. Be careful, combine our realms into one. The Styx River holy man roared, Heavenly Lord of Heartless, once he appears, use your love destroyer immediately. Only then can we confirm his location. Alright. The Heavenly Lord of Heartless replied loudly. But at this moment, Xing Hui's figure suddenly appeared. His powerful consciousness locked onto the Heavenly Lord of Heartless. Heavenly Lord of Heartless? You used your love destroyer to slash me a few times. Did you feel good? Then, come and experience the power of my sword mind. After he finished speaking, a blazing sword radiance exploded from Xing Hui's body. Behind him, there seemed to be a huge sun that rose above the horizon. After that, it released countless radiances that lit up the vision of the Heavenly Lord of Heartless. This was not a light in his vision, but a light in his spiritual world. Under this sword intent, his spiritual world seemed to be completely covered by this power, causing his mind to be completely immersed in this sword intent, so much so that he neglected everything outside. When Heavenly Lord Merciless regained his senses, he realized that Heavenly Holy Man Ming he had already burned the domain origin. The vast and surging domain power was like a surging river, revolving around Heavenly Lord Shangshan, Heavenly Lord Yunda, and the others. The moment he regained his senses, he saw the shadow-bearing sword owner's untraceable sword strike. The sword was formless and traceless. Before the virtuous cloud Heavenly Monarch could even react, the level 18 divine weapon, the shadow-bearing sword, had already pierced through his head silently. In that instant, The virtuous cloud heavenly monarch's head was smashed into pieces. Damn it! Heaven Lord Merciless let out a low roar. Before the sword chi in the shadow-bearing sword could completely crush Heaven Lord Cloud Virtue's body, the Love Destroyer had already reformed. Rumble! Almost at the same moment when he reformed the Love Destroyer, a vast and terrifying sun rose from his spiritual world, releasing endless light and heat. It instantly ignited his spiritual world, and the pain of his divine soul burning forced him to disperse the Love Destroyer's shadow, suppressing the boiling and burning spiritual world. Fortunately, before his spiritual world was ignited, he saw with his own eyes that the virtuous cloud Heavenly Holy Man's body was swept into the Styx River formed by Heavenly Holy Man Ming He's domain. As long as the body was still there, he could still be revived with the resurrection art. At most, his vitality would be greatly damaged, and he would need to recuperate for a period of time. In such a situation where they were almost beaten up, the saints of the Heavenly Way and Divine Path sect fought and retreated, finally escaping to the Karma Peak. Fortunately, the Karma Peak was only 1,000 kilometers away from the battlefield they were in. For saints who could fly 40 to 50 kilometers in a breath, it was only a distance of a dozen breaths. After all, the array formation on the Karma Peak could cover a radius of 200 to 300 kilometers. If this escape route was a little longer, not much longer, just 5,000 to 6,000 kilometers, all the saints present would have to use the teleportation art to save their lives. Once they entered the Karma Peak, the Heavenly Lord of Heartless, the Styx River Holy Man and the rest started to pant heavily. As they looked at Xing Hui, the Qingying Sword Master, Xingyi Sword Master and the rest who did not dare to enter the Karma Peak, a look of fear flashed across their eyes. Heavenly Lord of Heartless, what's going on? Why can't you provide any reinforcements on this escape route? Sometimes, you even have to let us bring you along? As the Heavenly Lord of Shangshan entered the Chaos Pavilion to contact the Son of Chaos, he turned his gaze to the Heavenly Lord of Heartless. Don't say any more. The Styx River Holy Man seemed to understand something. He looked at Xing Hui, who was outside the array formation, and said, "If I'm not wrong, the Heavenly Lord of Heartless is completely suppressed." The Heavenly Lord of Heartless expression was a little gloomy as he said, "That's right. That Cho Xing Hui's sword mind is very strong, very strong. Under the attack of his sword mind, I can barely defend myself. I can't resist at all." The Wu's holy man at one side was a little shocked as he heard this. "Heavenly Lord of Heartless, you are the most proficient cultivator of the soul amongst us. Under the attack of his sword mind, you can barely defend yourself. If he uses this method on us, all of you will be shaken to the point of instability. Then, in the moment of distraction, you will be killed instantly." The Heavenly Lord of Heartless said seriously, "That's why I have to advise all of you to prepare some defensive measures against the attack of his sword mind. Even if you don't have any similar mystical objects, you have to construct some defensive measures in your own spiritual world. Once you go out, you have to be alert at all times. Otherwise, if all of you meet him alone, I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to use the teleportation art. You will be killed instantly." The Heavenly Lord of Heartless words not only shocked the Heavenly Lord of Goodness, the Wu's Holy Man, and even the Nether River Holy Man. His sword mind is so strong? Even the Zhu Zhao, the Samsara Holy Master, and the Xuanji Palace Master can't kill a divine sage instantly. For those divine sages who don't have the ability to defend their souls and haven't cultivated their souls, Xing Hui is even more terrifying than the Zhu Zhao, the Samsara Holy Master, and the Xuanji Palace Master. As the Heavenly Lord of Heartless spoke, he glanced at the Karma Peak before glancing at the ball of chaotic chi that was over 100 kilometers in diameter hovering above the Karma Peak. He said helplessly, "The Karma Peak can't be defended anymore. Let's retreat. Qing Su has such a wondrous item, so this formation will be destroyed before long. Unless a supreme expert appears on our side, we can only place our hopes on the Chaos Holy Man. Once the Chaos Holy Man uses a long time to trap the Zhu Zhao, Sangqiong, Bai Heng, Chanhong, and Yu Ying in the Chaos Realm of Origin, he'll have time to deal with these stray dogs from the Zangqiong, Zhenqiong, and Baihong sword sect. The heavenly Lord of Goodness clenched his fists tightly. His heart was filled with hatred and indignation. However, looking at the Tsing Hui, the shadow-bearing sword master, the Xingyi sword master, and the others outside the Karma Peak, he could only lower his head helplessly and suppress this hatred in his heart. Although he was considered one of the best among the ordinary divine sages, whether it was Tsing Hui or the shadow-bearing sword master, any one of them had the ability to kill him. If he rushed out rashly, he would only be courting death. The Divine Path sect had already lost a heavenly lord of water virtue, and the heavenly lord of cloud virtue's body had been destroyed. He needed to be revived using the resurrection technique. If anything happened to him, the Divine Path sect was almost done for. I didn't expect such a young expert to have been born in the Tianqiong domain. After we trap the Zhu Zhao and the others, we must immediately ask the Chaos Holy Man to deal with him personally. Otherwise, if we let him continue to grow, the Divine Path sect will never have a day of peace. The Nether River Holy Man said solemnly. The others nodded their heads in agreement. In these few battles, the Divine Path sect had first lost the Zhurong Holy Man, and now the Heavenly Lord of Water Virtue. Two great experts had fallen. The last time this kind of crisis occurred was more than 60 years ago in the great battle to kill the divine beasts. However, although the Divine Path sect had lost 3 divine sages in that battle, they had killed 2 divine beasts. It was unlike this time, where 2 divine sages had died for nothing. The great situation that the Chaos Holy Man had created had been ruined into a stalemate. They escaped quickly. The shadow-bearing sword master said somewhat unwillingly. How many of them burned their domain origin this time? The consequences of burning their domain origin are not so simple to recover from. The Xingyi sword master said with a smile. He seemed to be in a good mood. That may not be so. Don't compare us with the Divine Path sect. The Divine Path sect's foundation is much stronger than ours. Burning their domain origin is very troublesome for us, but it may not be so for the Divine Path sect. The shadow-bearing sword master said. The smile on the Xingyi sword master's face faded a little when he heard this. However, he still appeared relaxed and said, although burning their domain origin may be able to recover quickly, how can they make up for the divine sages that they lost? The Divine Path sect has lost the Heavenly Lord of Water Virtue. This time, they will definitely suffer. This is also a powerful counterattack against the Divine Path sect by our 3 sections. We will dampen their arrogance. The Heavenly Lord of Water Virtue is not the first. I remember hearing that the Tsing Hui sword master killed the Zhurong Holy Man. I wonder if that's true? The shadow-bearing sword master turned to Tsing Hui and said, it should be. Unless the Zhurong Holy Man is very lucky and the location that he teleported to was saved by someone, he will definitely die. Tsing Hui said. After saying that, he raised his head and glanced at the chaotic realm that was shrouded in the protective formation of the Karma Peak. He said in a deep voice, we'd better destroy this formation as soon as possible. After destroying the formation on the Karma Peak, we'll try to find a way to tear the chaotic realm apart and rescue Master Zhu Zhao and the others. The shadow-bearing sword master, Xingyi sword master, and the others nodded their heads seriously. Then, the 3 of them retreated to the point where the power of the ley line gathered. They planned to use the earth-shaking cudgel to destroy the entire Karma Peak. However, before the green ruins could completely cause this earthquake that could destroy the Karma Peak, the master of the shadow-bearing sword who would go there to investigate the enemy's movements from time to time brought back a piece of good news. The people of the Heavenly Tao and the Divine Path sect had retreated. At this moment, the only problem that they faced to save the Zhurong Holy Man, the Heavenly Lord, the Baiheng Sword Master, the Long Rainbow Sword Master and the Shadow Sword Master was the chaotic origin world. Chapter 670. My strength is built on the shadow-bearing sword. This sword can turn me into a shadow. Simply put, it can allow me to travel through the void silently. It will automatically conceal all the fluctuations for me, allowing me to transform into the strongest shadow assassin when I wield this sword. It will be invincible. The owner of the shadow-bearing sword said regretfully, the shadow-bearing godly sword gave me a powerful assassination ability, but it didn't give me a powerful offensive ability. Therefore, I'm not much stronger than Firmament Master, Anasrava Holy Man, and the others in a head-on battle. Therefore, I'm helpless against this chaotic dimension. Sword Master Shingi added, in fact, there might not be anyone in the entire divine wilderness who can tear apart the Chaos Holy Man's chaotic primordial realm. Among the people I know, there is also the Tai Emperor, who is unparalleled in killing and has a cultivation of the void transformation realm. Let me give it a try. Sing Hui said reluctantly. The shadow-bearing Sword Master and Shingi Sword Master looked at each other. They were also unwilling to retreat without making a move. Alright, the three of us will attack together and see if we can tear apart the chaotic origin realm. But be careful, the chaotic origin realm isn't a dead object. It's ruled by the Chaos Holy Man. In fact, the Chaos Holy Man should know that we're here. It's just that he's merged with the chaotic origin realm, or rather, he's the chaotic origin realm and has no time to take care of us. Therefore, once we see the chaotic origin realm expanding outwards, we have to retreat quickly. Sword Master Shingi cautioned, the only thing worth rejoicing over is that the chaotic primordial realm that the Chaos Holy Man has transformed into is already separated from the divine wilderness world that we are in. Hence, it won't be easy for him to expand his territory, and he won't be able to do so quickly. We have enough time to react and retreat. Sing Hui nodded. Then, the three of them had already soared into the void. They looked at the chaotic origin chi that was constantly surging with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers above their heads with solemn expressions. Let's first accumulate our strength. After 10 breaths, we'll strike. All right. The three of them looked at each other, and the power in their bodies surged. The sword intents of Sword Master Shingi and Sword Master Chenging exploded and seethed. They kept controlling the power of their domains and adding it to their weapons. After 10 breaths, the three of them waved their swords at the same time. At that moment, a terrifying power that could destroy the world burst out from their weapons, turning into meteors, suns, and sword lights, shooting into the chaos dimension that was over 100 kilometers in diameter. As these attacks blasted into the primal chaos realm, the airflow surrounding the primal chaos realm was directly torn apart. However, after the airflow was torn apart, more airflow surged in from all directions and poured into the torn area. For a moment, the attacks of the three seemed to have been devoured by an invisible mouth. Apart from shooting out bursts of fire from deep within the airflow and causing the surrounding primal chaos yuan chi to churn, they did not cause any substantial damage. Furthermore, even the earth-shattering rumble did not appear. As expected, it can't be broken. Sword Master Chenging and Sword Master Shingi revealed a look of regret. Sing Hui, on the other hand, frowned and suddenly soared into the sky. In the next moment, he activated the light-chasing ability. The deep scarlet sword in his hand seemed to turn into a dazzling sword shadow, shooting out thousands of sword lights in an instant. Every sword light was a sword of sunlight, and the power of each sword of sunlight was not inferior to a great ability. If it hit an almighty directly, it would definitely be able to kill him on the spot. Within 10 breaths, Sing Hui brazenly slashed out over 100 times, shooting into the primal chaos realm in front of him. Over 100 swords of sunlight exploded one after another, illuminating the primal chaos realm in a dazzling light. It was like black charcoal that had been burned by fire, looking ferocious and terrifying. When they saw the Green Ruin Sword Master unleash sword after sword of sunlight like a storm, the shadow-bearing Sword Master and Shingi Sword Master were immediately dumbfounded. This is the true power of Sword Master Sing Hui? Such a terrifying swordsmanship ability, and it can be so fast. This is simply unreasonable. Who can block this? Who can block this swordsmanship ability? They can block one sword, but how can they block the second, third, and fourth sword that follow? An attack like that has definitely reached the level of sovereigns. If anyone dares to say that the master of the Green Ruins sword isn't a sovereign, I'll get mad at them. No, this is no longer the level of regular sovereigns. In terms of pure attacks, the master of the Green Ruins sword has probably surpassed those sovereigns. If it's a head-on clash, Probably even esteemed Zhu Zhao is slightly inferior to the master of the Green Ruin Sword. The two sword masters widened their eyes. At this moment, it was as if they had truly understood Tsing Hui's true strength. Unfortunately, even though Qing Su's attacks were extremely powerful, and every single slash was like a storm. Moreover, the power contained in every single slash was no weaker than a great ability, but that was all. The Chaos Element realm easily swallowed up hundreds of Tsing Hui's sunburst swords. Even Tsing Hui, who had slashed out hundreds of sunburst swords, was so tired that he was gasping for breath. However, the Chaos Element realm did not show any signs of being torn apart. It did not even show any signs of shrinking or dimming. Seeing this, the eyes of Sword Master Cheng Ying and Sword Master Xingyi, who were originally extremely shocked, quickly dimmed. Such a terrifying and storm-like attack can't do anything to the Chaos Element realm? In terms of pure attack power, Sword Master Tsing Hui's attack power is not inferior to Emperor Tai Yi's, right? Sword Master Xingyi looked a little dejected. Indeed, it's not inferior to Emperor Tai Yi's, but Emperor Tai Yi can't tear apart the Chaos Element realm. Even if 3 Emperor Tai Yi join forces, they can't do anything to the Chaos Element realm. Sword Master Cheng Ying smiled bitterly. For a moment, the two sword masters fell silent at the same time. In the vast Chaos Element realm, only Tsing Hui's exhausted gasps could be heard. This was the Chaos Element realm, and this was how terrifying Chaos Taoist Master was. Perhaps his offensive power wasn't that great, but by relying on the Chaos Primordial realm, he was definitely able to trap people. No one would be able to do anything to him. Tsing Hui, let's go back first. Let's brainstorm and see if we can come up with a solution. Sword Master Cheng Ying said. Tsing Hui raised his head and looked at the Chaos Element realm that was surging continuously. He felt a deep sense of helplessness in his heart. According to the effect of the hundreds of sunburst swords that he had slashed out, even if he had activated the divine technique and the power of his sword could shatter the vacuum, he was still a little far from truly breaking the Chaos Element realm. After all, there was a difference between the vacuum formed by his sunburst swords and the vacuum formed by a true vacuum expert. It was just like how the light of a candle could be compared to the light of a scorching sun. Immediately, the group returned to the Rainbow Sword sect. As soon as they arrived, Sword Master Pengguang, Sword Saint Caressing, and the others quickly came forward to welcome them. At the same time, Venerable Zhu Zhao's second disciple, Yulan, and a few others from Sword Shadow also came forward to welcome them. Seeing the reaction of Tsing Hui and the others, these people seemed to have understood something. Although they did not ask, their expressions turned gloomy. In fact, you don't have to be so pessimistic. At this time, Yulan suddenly said, "We may not be able to tear the Chaos Element realm apart with ordinary methods to rescue my master, Venerable Firmament, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Master Yu Ying. However, this does not mean that we are completely helpless against the Chaos Element realm. Don't forget that we have the Chaos Treasure Pavilion, and the Chaos Treasure Pavilion is rich in an item called the Heavenly Grotto Stone. If a Divine Realm expert draws out the power of the Heavenly Grotto Stone to attack, it will have a significant amplification effect on shattering the void. Therefore, as long as we accumulate enough Heavenly Grotto Stones, we may be able to tear a hole in the Chaos Element realm and rescue Venerable Zhu Zhao and the others." Heavenly Grotto Stone. Hearing Yulan's words, the eyes of Tsing Hui and the others suddenly lit up. Yes, 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 the Heavenly Abode Stone. How could we forget about it? If we have the Heavenly Abode Stone, we will be able to unleash an attack that is close to the level of a vacuum-crushing expert. No matter how strong the chaotic realm of Chaos Holy Man is, it will be torn apart in the face of several or even a dozen vacuum-crushing attacks. Who has the Heavenly Abode Stone? I have 3 Heavenly Grotto Stones. The Heavenly Grotto Stone is a supreme treasure for escaping from the void interlayer. I have a spare. I have one. Our Baihong Sword sect also has 3 Heavenly Grotto Stones in storage. Soon, they had gathered 9 Heavenly Grotto Stones. 9 Heavenly Grotto Stones. In order to ensure that these Heavenly Grotto Stones can unleash the greatest attack, we'd better let 9 Divine Realm experts attack at the same time. Xing Hui said. At present, we still have 3 Divine Realm experts on our side. Including Sword Master Wuxuan of the Sword Shadow sect, we have 4 people in total. Count me in. The enemy at Causal Peak has been defeated, and the place we are going to is not far from the Baihong Sword sect. Even if there is any danger, we can retreat immediately. Sword Master Pengguang said. 5 Divine Realm experts. We are still a little short of 9. Sword Master Xingyi said. Xing Hui suddenly thought of something and sneered. Didn't the Black Flame sect always say that they want to join the alliance of the 3 of us? Earlier on, all of you seem to be moving around. Why are there no movements all of a sudden? Black Flame sect? Sword Master Pengguang creased his eyebrows. Not long ago, we did ask for help from the Black Flame sect, hoping that they would send a Divine Realm expert to help. However, the Black Flame sect used the excuse that real God suffering is recuperating, the only real God is in seclusion, and the Savior real God needs to be in the sect as an excuse to not send anyone over. That's not up to them. Seeing that the alliance of the 3 of us has become stronger, they are thinking of ways to join our alliance to seek protection. Now that we need them to mobilize their power, they are looking for all sorts of reasons and excuses. They are afraid of the slightest thing. Xing Hui stood up and said sternly, I will make a trip to the Black Flame sect personally. I would like to see if real God suffering is really recuperating and if the only real God is in seclusion. Chapter 671. Black Flame Sect. At that very moment, the 3 holiness real gods in Black Flame Sect were restless. Real God suffering real God had fallen into Xing Hui's hands and was extorted by Xing Hui of 1,500 Taoist rhyme items. He had emptied the entire Black Flame sect. Theoretically, he hated the alliance between Tianqiong, Baihong Sword sect, and Sword Shadow the most. However, in actual fact, after knowing that Xing Hui's real cultivation time was less than 40 years, he was the one who advocated the alliance with Tianqiong and Baihong Sword sect the most. Real God Savior, on the other hand, was against it. At that very moment, Real God Savior was venting his dissatisfaction in the meeting hall. Real God suffering, don't forget how Tianqiong treated Black Flame sect back then. Because of you, not only did he steal 1,500 Taoist rhyme items from Black Flame sect, he even forced us to hand over Qixing Dharma King and let them do whatever they want with him. Until now, there are people in the sect who are complaining about this. A few Dharma Kings have already disagreed with Black Flame sect. If something like this were to happen a few more times, the entire Black Flame sect would fall apart. Is that what you want to see? Real God Savior, that's not what I meant. The reason why Qixing Dharma King joined Black Flame sect was to seek protection from Black Flame sect. However, over the years, not only did he not bring any benefits to Black Flame sect, but he also attracted a terrifying enemy like Sword Master Xing Hui. He forced Black Flame sect to lose 1,500 Taoist rhyme items. It's completely reasonable for us to hand them over. However, since we've already discussed the alliance with Tianqiong, Baihong Sword sect, and Sword Shadow, we should advance and retreat together. Now that Tianqiong Master and Zhuzhao Master, Baihong Sword Master and Long Rainbow Sword Master, and Sword Master Shadow of Sword Shadow are trapped by Chaos Holy Man, Black Flame sect should display the value of Black Flame sect at this crucial moment so that we can enter the core of the alliance and gain their trust. From now on, we'll advance and retreat together. True God suffering True God earnestly advised. You said it yourself. The one who trapped Master Firmament, Master Zhu Zhao, Master Bai Heng, and the others is the Chaos Holy Man. What kind of person is the Chaos Holy Man? The leader of the Heavenly Way, the #1 expert in the Heavenly Way, and one of the top 3 ultimate experts. If we, the Black Flame sect, were to interfere in this war, we would be doomed eternally if we were not careful. Furthermore, even if we, the Black Flame sect, wanted to interfere in this war, do you think that we would be able to help? Right now, our Black Flame sect did not pursue the matter of them extorting 1,500 Taoist rhymes from us. Instead, we maintained our neutrality. This is already giving them enough face. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll have to go to the Sky Dome realm and demand an explanation from them for what happened back then. It's easy to add flowers to embroidery, but difficult to provide timely help. Currently, Sky Dome Sect, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Shadow Sword Sect are indeed in a difficult situation. However, as the saying goes, hardship reveals a person's heart. At this time, if our Black Flame Sect can express our attitude, we will be able to gain the trust of Sky Dome Sect, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Shadow Sword Sect. As True God Suffering said this, he seemed to feel that this meaningless argument would not help the entire situation. He stood up and was too lazy to continue. True God of Salvation, if you are not willing to go, I will go alone. Hold on. True God Suffering, you are one of the 3 true gods in our Black Flame Sect. If you were to go, it would be tantamount to representing our Black Flame Sect's attitude. By then, even if our Black Flame Sect wanted to stay out of the matter, they would definitely not let our Black Flame Sect off in the revenge attack from Tiandao. Hence, you can't go. True God of Salvation stood up and shouted, "Revenge attack? I think the target of revenge that you need to pay attention to isn't Tiandao, but Sky Dome. Or rather, sword owner Tsing Hui from Sky Dome. You only see how powerful Tiandao is, but you don't see the potential of Sky Dome Sect, Rainbow Sword Sect, and the other powerhouses." True God Suffering said in a deep voice, "Don't forget what kind of person is esteemed Zhu Zhao. He is the most talented divine being. He was once known as the #1 person in the divine wilderness. After esteemed Zhu Zhao, who is the most talented person in the divine wilderness? Sword owner Bai Heng. Tiandao was afraid of sword owner Bai Heng's potential. Hence, it allowed the Divine Path Sect, which they controlled, to target Rainbow Sword Sect and suppress sword owner Bai Heng's growth space. After sword owner Bai Heng, who is the #1 person in the younger generation? Tsing Hui, the master of the Green Ruins Sword in the Sky, a person who has cultivated for less than 40 years, is an invincible existence who can rival saints and even surpass regular saints. I believe you've heard about the news from the Kongli continent, right? An ultimate expert, a new ultimate expert, an existence whose talent is even more terrifying than sword owner Bai Heng's. He is the #1 person in the divine wilderness with the most potential in the 3rd generation. They are all in this alliance. Now, we have a chance to completely integrate into this alliance and gain their trust. Why should we not hold on to it and remain indifferent? True God Suffering's words caused True God of Salvation's expression to change slightly. The only true God, who had not expressed his position, thought carefully and was shocked. The #1 person in our generation, the next generation, and the generation after that are all in this alliance. If this alliance can really survive this calamity, their future prospects are limitless. The Savior True God also noticed this. Although his face was a little pale, he was still unwilling to give in. We'll have to wait until they get through this crisis. If their alliance can really get through this crisis, I have no objection to the Black Flame Sect joining them. But now, short-sighted. True God Suffering shouted, "Salvation, you have really disappointed me. Ignoring the fact that if this alliance survives this calamity, we will not be able to easily gain their trust. Even if they can't survive this calamity, so what? Let me tell you, the most terrifying person in their entire alliance isn't the Illuminator. Even though the Illuminator can be called the greatest of the saints, he's already advanced in age, and the upper limit of his growth has already been fixed. Moreover, the greatest threat isn't Sword Master Bai Heng either. Even though Sword Master Bai Heng possesses battle prowess close to a sovereign, he seems extremely young, and his talent is indisputable, but he's still within the scope of our understanding. Out of the 3 sects, the Celestial Dome Sect, the Fogbow Sword Sect, and the Sword Shadow Sect, the most shocking, unbelievable, and despair-inducing person is the Green Ruins Sword Master. It's true that the esteemed Zhu Zhao and the Sword Master Bai Heng are trapped. Even if they die in the future, as long as the Sword Master Qing Su is fine, their alliance will definitely rise up again and crush the heavenly ways. Sword owner Tsing Hui. True God of Salvation was shocked. However, when he thought about Qing Su's legendary past, the only true God could no longer sit still. He immediately said sternly, I agree with True God of Suffering. True God of Salvation, if you really don't want to show yourself, you can activate the protective formation and stay in the Black Flame sect. True God of Suffering and I will lead the elites of the sect to the White Rainbow Sword sect as reinforcements. True God Suffering saw that the one true God was finally convinced and his face was instantly filled with joy. He quickly said, "Okay, we will go and gather the people now." True God of Salvation opened his mouth and wanted to say something. However, he saw that True God Suffering and the one true God had already made up their minds. He could only remain silent and did not speak anymore. At this moment, the Master of Purification of Black Flame sect flew over and quickly reported, "3 true gods, there is news from the Karma Peak battlefield. Swordmaster Tsing Hui, Swordmaster Qingyi and Swordmaster Xingyi have entered the Karma Peak and fought with Heavenly Lord Wuqing, Styx River Holy Man, Wu Sei Holy Man, Heavenly Lord Shangshan, Heavenly Lord Yunda and Heavenly Lord Shueda. In this battle, Heavenly Lord Shueda was killed by Swordmaster Tsing Hui while Heavenly Lord Yunda's physical body was destroyed by Swordmaster Cheng. The Heavenly Tao was defeated and retreated from the Karma Peak battlefield. Currently, they are all hiding in the Divine Path sect. Defeated? The Heavenly Tao was defeated? The 6 sages, including the Heavenly Lord of Heartless, the Styx River Holy Man, and the Heavenly Lord of Shangshan, were actually defeated by the Green Ruin Swordmaster, the Shadow-Bearing Swordmaster, and the Xingyi Swordmaster? How is this possible? Quick, what was the scene of that battle? Quickly tell me. The world's savior true God, the one true God and the suffering true God hurried him. Afterwards, the Heavenly Lord of Mercilessness, the Heavenly Lord of Shangshan, the Heavenly Lord of Mercilessness, the Heavenly Lord of Shangshan, and the Styx River Holy Man all moved together to kill the Green Ruin Swordmaster. However, the Green Ruin Swordmaster was able to kill the Styx River Holy Man with a single strike. However, the Green Ruin Swordmaster was slain by the Green Ruin Swordmaster with a single strike, but the Green Ruin Swordmaster was able to revive the Styx River Holy Man due to his art of backtracking, forcing the other saints to retreat. At the same time, the Shadow-Bearing Swordmaster and the Xingyi Swordmaster tore through the Styx River Holy Man's colorless realm. The two of them unleashed their might and defeated the Heavenly Lord of the Heavenly Cloud Holy Man. As they fled, the Heavenly Lord of the Virtue of Cloud was slain by a single strike from the Shadow-Bearing Swordmaster. If the Styx River Holy Man had not reacted extremely quickly and saved his corpse, the Heavenly Lord of the Virtue of Cloud probably would not even be left of his corpse. The suffering true God, the one true God and the world's savior true God all sucked in a breath of cold air. Tsing Hui, not only was he safe and sound under the combined attack of Heavenly Lord Wuqing, Styx River Holy Man, Heavenly Lord Shangshan, Heavenly Lord Shud and Heavenly Lord Yunda, he even killed Heavenly Lord Shud. Heavenly Lord Wuqing, Styx River Holy Man and Heavenly Lord Shangshan were the cream of the crop among the divine sages. When the 3 of them teamed up, even great sages like the Holy Master of the Bottomless Utopia, Jade Emperor Holy Man, Swordmaster Qingyi and Sun Moon Divine King had to avoid them. However, Tsing Hui not only fought the 3 of them head-on, he even killed one of them with the help of Swordmaster Shud and Yunda. This battle power. The Green Ruin Swordmaster's strength is probably on par with Venerable Zhu Zhao, the Samsara Lord, and the Hall Master of the 4 Stars Hall. The one true God said softly. The world's savior true God and the suffering true God were silent. After a while, the world's savior true God, who had been against the Black Flame sect joining the war, said somewhat awkwardly, "True gods, please bring our Black Flame sect's guardian kings to the Rainbow Sword sect to help." Chapter 672. At this moment, Tsing Hui was flying towards the Black Flame sect. He had no idea what was going on in the sect. However, not long after Tsing Hui flew towards the Black Flame sect, the commotion in the Primal Chaos Divine Palace startled Tsing Hui. He quickly sent a part of his consciousness into the Sky Dome realm. Although the Firmament Master was trapped in the Primal Chaos realm, his Sky Dome realm was embedded in the Primal Chaos Divine Palace. He had given Zhongzhen the Venerable Master and the others extremely high authority to use it. It was not that it no longer existed, it was just that the Firmament Master himself could not sense the connection between the Primal Chaos Divine Palace and the Sky Dome realm. Venerable Master, what's the matter? Tsing Hui stepped into the Sky Dome realm and saw the anxious Zhongzhen the Venerable Master, so he immediately asked, Tsing Hui, those bastards from the Divine Ghost sect are going to take revenge on us for sneaking in and stealing the innate charm. 4 of our resource points were stolen, and the cultivators guarding the points were all killed. 3 of our powerful figures were even hunted down by the Divine Ghost sect. Only Bai Qi escaped with Lan Rui's help. Zhongzhen the Venerable Master's eyes were filled with anger and killing intent. Killing Almighties is equivalent to declaring war on the other party's forces. If no Almighties died, Tianqiong could still avoid it and hand over those resource points. However, he has actually killed 2 of our Almighties. We have no choice but to respond to this matter. Otherwise, the other forces will probably think that Tianqiong is too weak to resist and try to bite off a piece of meat from Tianqiong. When Qing Su heard that, he immediately understood the severity of the matter. The Divine Ghost sect could be said to be taking revenge for sneaking into the Divine Ghost sect and stealing their innate charm. However, if the Divine Ghost sect did not retaliate and let the other forces of Infinite Wasteland know that the Divine Ghost sect had to face revenge after being enraged, the other forces would probably take action one after another. Once the situation developed, no matter how strong the Divine Ghost sect was, they would not be able to turn the situation around. Therefore, the Divine Ghost sect not only had to retaliate, but also had to do their best to inflict pain on the enemy. Only by killing the chicken to warn the monkey could the onlooking forces be intimidated and let them know the price they had to pay for humiliating the Divine Ghost sect. I understand. Tsing Hui's expression turned cold. I will make the God Ghost sect pay the price. I've already heard about what happened at the Karma Peak battlefield. I'll use Sky Dome's channels to spread the news of that battle, letting the world know that we, Sky Dome, still have a supreme expert like you. However, if you can retaliate against the Divine Ghost sect at this time, I believe that the effect will be even more obvious. So obvious that as long as you're still in our Sky Dome, there won't be any other power in the entire Divine Wilderness that will dare to provoke our Sky Dome. Master Zhongzhen said ruthlessly. Tsing Hui nodded slightly. I will go to the Divine Ghost sect now. Do you need any help? No need. Tsing Hui said. His consciousness returned to his body, and he was about to change directions and head towards the God Demon Gate. However, at this moment, he seemed to have sensed something and immediately looked towards the horizon. Not long after, a huge battleship carrying a large number of experts was flying towards the Rainbow Sword sect. On the battleship, Tsing Hui sensed 2 familiar auras, Real God Suffering and Real God Only. The Black Flame sect's battleship? Tsing Hui muttered to himself and looked in the direction of the Black Flame sect's battleship. He stopped temporarily and waited in the void. Not long after, the Black Flame sect noticed where Tsing Hui was. When they saw that it was Tsing Hui, Real God Suffering and Real God Only seemed to have thought of something and their faces suddenly changed. They looked at each other and let out a sigh of relief. They were both glad that they had sent troops to assist the Rainbow Sword sect without hesitation. The 2 of them then quickly flew in front of Tsing Hui and bowed to him from afar. Greetings, Sword Master Tsing Hui. This place is less than 6,000 kilometers away from the Rainbow Sword sect. Real God Suffering and Real God Only are heading towards the Rainbow Sword sect? Tsing Hui looked at the 2 great saints who flew in front of him and asked calmly. We received news not long ago that the Heavenly Tao had trapped Master Firmament, Master Candlelight, Sword Master Bai Heng, Sword Master Long Rainbow, and Sword Shadow's Sword Master Yu Ying on the Karma Peak. We immediately gathered the experts scattered throughout the sect and specially headed to the White Rainbow Sword sect to see if we can help. Real God Suffering said sincerely. Oh, is that so? Tsing Hui saw. Although he didn't understand why the Black Flame sect had changed their mind, he couldn't force them since the 2 great saints were so tactful. However, as the Black Flame sect had other intentions, he had to intimidate them. There's nothing big happening at the Rainbow Sword sect for now. However, there's something I need to deal with at the Divine Ghost Sect. I originally planned to deal with it alone, but after considering some things, it's not too convenient for me to deal with it alone. Now that I've met you all from the Black Flame Sect, I'll have to trouble you all to follow me to the Divine Ghost Sect. To the Ghost God Sect. Real God Suffering was stunned. Aren't we going to provide assistance to the Rainbow Sword Sect? The Rainbow Sword Sect has Sword Master Cheng Ying, Sword Master Xing Yi and Sword Master Peng Guang. They're very safe now. I believe that Tian Dao, who lost a great saint, won't have the guts to fight back against the Rainbow Sword Sect. Instead, it's the Ghost God Sect who dares to provoke us and kill our almighties. I'll let them know the price they have to pay for offending us. The Ghost God Sect killed their almighties? Real God Suffering was shocked. However, he reacted quickly. Not everyone was like the Black Flame Sect, constantly paying attention to the changes in the Karma Peak battlefield. If they waited for a day or two, the news of the battle on the Karma Peak would spread. After learning of Tsing Hui's true strength, the Ghost God Sect might not have the courage to provoke Tian Dao. Unfortunately, the Ghost God Sect didn't have much patience. After realizing that the first Dao Master of Tian Dao, Chaos Dao Master, had personally taken action and trapped Tian Dao's esteemed Zhu Zhao, Sword Master Tian Dao, Sword Master Bai Heng and Sword Master Long Rainbow, as well as Sword Master Yu Ying in the Chaos Dimension, they couldn't wait to take revenge on Tian Dao. They even mercilessly killed the two almighties of Tian Dao. Now, it was time for them to pay for what they had done. We're willing to follow Sword Master Tsing Hui to the Ghost God Sect and fight against them. Real God Suffering's mind spun quickly. In a short while, he made a decision without hesitation. Very well. Tsing Hui replied indifferently, then, let's not delay any further. We'll split into two. The two of you will follow me, while your battleship will turn around and head to the Ghost God Sect. When they arrive, I reckon the Ghost God Sect will be almost done. Almost done? What did he mean by almost done? Real God Suffering and Real God One were shocked. However, they didn't dare to go against Tsing Hui's words. All right, we'll do as Sword Master Tsing Hui said. The two divine true gods agreed and gave orders to the few celestial phenomenon and Earth-class experts on the battleship. Soon, they left and returned to Tsing Hui's side. They followed Tsing Hui and headed toward the Ghost God Sect. The Ghost God Sect, Black Flame Cult, Divine Path Sect, Rainbow Sword Sect, and Sky Dome Sect's base weren't too far apart from each other. They were all in a large region. In addition, with the Divine Realm experts flying at full speed, they could cover tens of thousands of kilometers in 2 hours. Hence, in less than 4 hours, Tsing Hui, Real God Suffering, and Real God One were already near the mountain gate of the Ghost God Sect. Sword Master Tsing Hui, are we going to challenge them directly? Or are we going to investigate the Almighties outside the Ghost God Sect? Target a few of them and kill them one by one. We'll give them a taste of their own medicine. Real God Suffering asked. There's no need for that. Tsing Hui used the aura-gazing technique and looked at the Ghost God Sect for a while. Finally, he stopped at a mountain peak 1,800 kilometers away from the Ghost God Sect. This mountain peak was the intersection point of the Ghost God Sect's Earth Vein Qi. Even though the Ghost God Sect's protective formation was of a high level and had the ability to absorb energy from the void, as long as Tsing Hui could destroy all the Earth Vein Qi, even if he couldn't completely destroy the Ghost God Sect's protective formation, he would be able to destroy most of it. Most importantly, with the earthquake, the many palaces, pavilions, and courtyards built in the Ghost God Sect would definitely collapse. Even though the collapse would be slow and wouldn't hurt the disciples of the Ghost God Sect, if more than half of the mountain gate was destroyed, it would still make the Ghost God Sect go crazy. You too keep an eye on them. If the gods of the Ghost God Sect fly out, inform me immediately. Tsing Hui said. The gods of the Ghost God Sect fly out? Real God Suffering and Real God One were slightly stunned. The Divine Ghost Sect had 3 saints on their side, and they had 3 saints on their side as well. Among them, Qing Su was one of the more outstanding saints, so why would the Divine Ghost Sect give up on the advantage of their protective formation and leave the range of the formation to fight them? Although they were somewhat suspicious, Real God Suffering and Real God 1 did not say anything. They continued to wait patiently. Meanwhile, Tsing-Hui took out the ground-shaking stick again. Circulating his true yuan, he smashed it towards the ground. Rumble. Under the injection of Tsing-Hui's dense true yuan, 100-meter-wide crack appeared in the ground in front of him. An unending stream of vibrating energy spread towards the crack and into the ground, causing the ground to rumble. However, this was only the beginning. As Tsing-Hui smashed the ground again and again with the ground-shaking stick, the vibrating energy continued to accumulate underground and rapidly spread towards the Ghost God sect. This caused the ground in the direction of the Ghost God sect to shake visibly. It was as if there was an immemorial ferocious beast rolling and rolling in the depths of the ground. This caused the birds and beasts within 1,800 kilometers from Tsing-Hui to the Ghost God sect to panic and flee in fear. This is, Real God Suffering and Real God 1 were both saints. After observing carefully for a moment, they immediately understood what Tsing-Hui was doing. At that moment, both of their faces were filled with shock. Sword Master Tsing-Hui is trying to destroy the foundation of the Ghost God sect. Unless the Ghost God sect is willing to watch their foundation be destroyed, they have no choice but to come out and fight. Real God 1's face was filled with fear. At this moment, he felt extremely fortunate that he had listened to the true God of Tribulation's advice at a crucial moment and led the experts to assist the White Rainbow Sword sect. Otherwise, if Ching Su used this method in the Black Flame sect, how was the Black Flame sect supposed to fend it off? If this method caused the protective formation of the Black Flame sect to collapse by half, at that time, the three of them would definitely not be his opponent under the slaughter of a supreme expert like Ching Su. The entire Black Flame sect would face destruction as a result. Chapter 673. In truth, when the vibrations were transmitted to the Divine Ghost sect, the Divine Ghost sect found it strange at first, but they did not pay much attention to it. After all, such vibrations existed from time to time, so it was not worth making a fuss about. However, as time went on, the tremors grew stronger and stronger. It was already enough to shatter some porcelain and glass products, so the Divine Ghost sect immediately began to pay attention to it. As a Golden Core Elder led a group of people to discover that Ching Su, True God of Suffering, and True God only had appeared outside the Divine Ghost sect, the entire sect rapidly became nervous. The Wheel of Life and Death formation that had originally only been activated but not operated at its maximum capacity was immediately activated to the limit. Many Saint Disciples and Golden Core Elders stepped into the formation as soon as possible to maintain its operation. Even the powerful existences were responsible for guiding the formation, causing it to become a domain of death. Coupled with the constellation God King Calamity Battle, and God King Violence Earthly Violence, let alone the three of them, the Divine Ghost sect did not fear them at all even if there were twice or even 3 times as many saints who came. What is Tsing-Hui doing? Also, why are Suffering True God and only True God of the Black Flame sect with him? Don't they know that Tianqiong is now a lone boat in a storm, in danger of capsizing at any time? Constellation Divine King hovered in the formation, feeling the vibrations that spread out endlessly. His expression was grave. Constellation Divine King, I don't know what that kid is doing, but I'm afraid we can't continue like this. The vibrations are getting stronger and stronger, and it's still accumulating. If we continue to do nothing, when the energy accumulates to a sufficient degree and explodes, the mountains will collapse. Even our Divine Ghost sect's life and death wheel formation will be affected, and most of the buildings, pavilions, and palaces in our sect will collapse. Violence Divine King's expression was ugly. He was the only person in the Divine Ghost sect who knew a little about formations. Although he was not a master, he had seen through Tsing-Hui's sinister intentions. You mean Tsing-Hui is using a method to destroy our Divine Ghost sect's life and death wheel formation from 1,000 kilometers away? He can't completely destroy it, but it's easy to greatly weaken the formation. Violence Divine King said. Damn it. Humph, they only have 3 divine sages on their side. Although Tsing Hui is rumored to be powerful, he is still young. I don't believe that he can be that powerful. Reaching the level of Firmament Master is his limit. The three of us will attack together and destroy the thing that caused the earthquake. Then, we will return to the mountain gate as fast as we can. That way, Tsing Hui won't have the guts to chase after us. God King Calamity said. Now that things have come to this is the only way. Let Wang Qiqing lead the team and send all the lawful phenomenon of heaven and earth experts into the lawful phenomenon of heaven and earth immediately. They will be responsible for receiving us from 100 kilometers away. Under Constellation Deity King's command, the three great saints soared into the sky at the same time. They transformed into flowing lights and charged in the direction of Tsing Hui, Real God Suffering and Real God One. They're here. Sword Master Tsing Hui, the three God Kings of the Divine Ghost sect have arrived. Real God Suffering sensed the three powerful auras approaching quickly and shouted, "Finally willing to come out?" However, since they're already here, it would be wishful thinking to leave no one behind. If I remember correctly, the one with the weakest divine soul among the three God Kings of the Divine Ghost sect is Violence Divine King? That's Violence Divine King. Very good. Real God Suffering, Real God One, I'll leave Constellation Divine King and Calamity Divine King to you. I don't expect you to defeat the two of them, but you have to hold them back. Do you understand? Real God One and Real God Suffering compared their strength with Constellation Divine King and Calamity Divine Kings and said without hesitation, "All right. We will do our best to hold them back and not let them interfere with you, Swordmaster Tsing Hui." Very good. Tsing Hui controlled the earth-shaking rod in his hand as he looked towards the horizon. Very soon, Constellation Divine King, Violence Divine King and Calamity Divine King appeared at the horizon. The three of them looked at Tsing Hui immediately. To be exact, they looked at the earth-shaking rod that Tsing Hui was hitting the ground continuously. Their eyes lit up at once. That's the thing. According to my senses, this thing needs to hit the ground continuously to accumulate enough power of vibration before it explodes in one go. Only then can it cause a destructive attack on the power of the ley lines in the surrounding area and cause a disaster like a landslide. As long as we can interrupt him, it won't take too long, just a dozen breaths' time. The power of vibration will dissipate quickly. By then, he will have to gather the power of vibration again and it will take him half a day's time. When he gathers the power of vibration, we'll disturb him again and see what he can do. All right, there's no time to lose. The three of us will attack at the same time and interrupt him. Divine King Calamity Divine King said and pounced towards Tsing Hui quickly. Very good. When Qing Su saw the Constellation Divine King Calamity Divine King, and Divine King Violence Divine King actually charged towards him, he immediately understood their intentions. He directly put the earth-shaking rod away. True God of Suffering, True God of One. Understood. The two true gods immediately soared into the sky and their territory power exploded. The two territories were like two stars with a diameter of tens of kilometers. They brazenly collided with the territories of Constellation Divine King and Calamity Divine King. Although the collision between territories was not as intense as a comet colliding with Earth, at the edge of the collision, there were still ripples that could be seen with the naked eye spreading out. At the core of the collision, the territories devoured each other and cancelled each other out. It was even more dangerous. At this moment, if there was some reckless saint cultivator who dared to step into the center of the intersection of the territories, he would definitely be killed by the territories in an instant. You're just a junior. Do you really think that you can challenge a divine just because you have some ability? Violent demons roar. Just as Constellation Divine King and Calamity Divine King were holding back Suffering True God and One True God, Violence Divine King had already pounced down. His territory swept out and he directly turned into a pitch-black and hazy monster in the void. It was as though he was looking at a monster that was half awake yet half awake. The moment he was seen by this monster, the hostility, murderous intent, and fear in the cultivator's heart would all be drawn out. In addition, when the violent demon's roar let out a soundless roar, It formed a sound wave impact that caused Tsing Hui's eardrums to hurt. He had the misconception that his brain was about to be torn apart. Sound wave attack? Tsing Hui had originally planned to wait for Violence Divine King to get closer before killing him in one strike. However, when he sensed that Violence Divine King's attack was so strange and impossible to guard against, he immediately stopped holding back. While the Ultimate Sword principle allowed him to possess powerful attack techniques, his defense was greatly weakened. Just like Violence Divine King's Violent Demon's Roar, although the sound wave would affect a Divine State expert, after being weakened by the territory power, it would only be some noise when it landed in the ears of a Divine State expert. At most, it would weaken the Divine State expert's territory power. However, to Tsing Hui, before he got too close, the sound wave had already caused Tsing Hui's brain to hurt, forcing him to quickly draw his sword. Clang! The deep scarlet sword hummed. A resonant sword hum instantly spread out in the void. It carried a kind of high-spirited aura as it soared into the clouds, suppressing most of the Violent Demon's Roar's sound wave. Chasing light. As the sword roared, Tsing Hui's divine ability, Chasing Light, erupted. Body and sword became one, shooting out in an instant. In almost the blink of an eye, he had already traversed over 10 kilometers, ruthlessly crashing into Violence Divine King's territory. Just as Violence Divine King was about to activate his territory power to kill him in shock, the Scarlet Abyss Sword's sword light had already erupted in full force. It carried with it a blazing and terrifying heat flow, wildly evaporating Violence Divine King's territory at a terrifying speed. Almost at the instant the two clashed, Violence Divine King's territory had already been torn open by at least 10 kilometers. The distance between the two was actually less than half. Such terrifying speed and the terrifying might that tore through the territory like a hot knife through butter immediately caused Violence Divine King, who had planned on suppressing Tsing Hui's arrogance, to change his expression. Not good. As the territory power surged wildly, Violence Divine King retreated rapidly. Rumble! Almost at the same time he retreated, the might of Tsing Hui's sword immediately descended. It was as if the scorching sun was high in the sky, illuminating the world. Endless radiance instantly shone into Violence Divine King's spiritual world. Many phantoms of gods and demons in Violence Divine King's spiritual world roared in vain as they attempted to resist this resplendent radiance that illuminated all life. However, upon contact, they were instantly evaporated, like snow that was exposed to the scorching sun, instantly melting away. By the time he shook his spiritual world and expelled this resplendent scorching sun from his spiritual world, a scorching heat that was enough to incinerate his body was already less than 100 meters away from him. Seeing the scorching sun rapidly expand in his eyes, Violence Divine King was greatly alarmed. Without hesitation, he raised his chaos level to level 30 and was about to activate the teleportation technique. As for Tsing Hui, he felt somewhat regretful when he saw Violence Divine King regain consciousness. In the end, he had attacked a little too early. Even though his sword intent could shake up the spiritual world of a Saint Realm powerhouse and cause them to lose focus for a moment, he needed time to approach his opponent and time to tear apart his territory. If he had used his sword intent after tearing apart his territory, he would have definitely been able to kill him in that moment of distraction. However, if he had used the might of his sword intent before he had broken through his territory, his opponent would have shaken off his sword intent attack and regained consciousness by the time he destroyed his territory. What a pity! As Tsing Hui thought to himself, he planned to use the grief-parting realm. Even if he could not kill Violence Divine King, he would have to use the grief-parting realm to disrupt his teleportation technique, trapping him in a layer of space and preventing him from attacking for a short period of time. However, just as he was about to use the grief-parting realm, he suddenly felt an intense sense of danger. At some point, Violence Divine King had actually split into two. One of his clones was entangled with the only true god, while his main body had silently charged behind Tsing Hui. He wanted to take advantage of the fact that Tsing Hui was completely focused on Violence Divine King to kill him in a single blow. Most importantly of all, In order to ensure that his sneak attack was stealthy and fatal, he did not use the power of his territory. Chapter 674. You're courting death. While in the state of chasing light, Tsing Hui's sword was not only faster than usual, but his reaction speed and even the reaction speed of his body had also increased by a large margin. If it were any other divine, it would have been impossible for them to twist their body and block God King Calamity's silent assassination, but Tsing Hui, the Scarlet Abyss sword that was originally slashing towards God King Brutality, trembled slightly, then turned around at an inconceivable speed. It swept 180 degrees and arrived first, instantly colliding with God King Calamity's assassination, causing dazzling sparks to fly. Not good. Having missed his attack, God King Calamity had comprehended the essence of fleeing 1,000 miles away. His expression changed as he retreated rapidly, about to withdraw. Unfortunately, it was too late. The sword intent that had been refined from the piercing mystic technique instantly crossed the spatial barrier between the two of them. It was like a blazing sun that illuminated the entire world as it crashed into God King Calamity's mental world, burning it into a sea of flames. Suppress. The intense pain of his soul burning made God King Calamity roar. Powerful mental energy surged out from every corner of his mental world, rapidly obliterating the brilliant sword intent Tsing Hui had created in his mental world. But the moment he obliterated the sword intent, an indescribable fear swept through his body from the depths of his soul. In the next moment, the power of burning the heavens and boiling the seas that had been suppressed erupted once again. However, this time, the eruption did not come from the inside of his mental world. Instead, it spread out from his physical body, from the outside to the inside. When God King Calamity was jolted awake by Tsing Hui's sword intent, his body had already been pierced through by the Scarlet Abyss sword's swordlight. The blazing sun-like flames contained within the Scarlet Abyss sword instantly burned him to ashes. The indescribable feeling of trembling and the blazing heat that swept through his body was the last thing he felt in this world. Calamity? Sensing that God King Calamity was about to kill Tsing Hui in the next second, God King Brutality was no longer willing to use his teleportation technique to escape so easily. He seemed to want to pin down Tsing Hui with his own body so that he could personally witness the scene of Tsing Hui dying to God King Calamity's assassination. However, he never imagined that in just an instant, the situation would suddenly reverse. Tsing Hui was actually able to react quickly even when God King Calamity was behind him. Moreover, he inconceivably killed God King Calamity to the point that he did not even have the chance to use his teleportation technique to escape. Fortunately, even though he was greatly shocked by God King Calamity's death, his countless years of cultivating to the divine realm allowed him to quickly come to his senses. His domain erupted, and a surging domain energy swept out madly. Like a tsunami, it fiercely charged at Tsing Hui. Even though Tsing Hui immediately activated his sword intent and suppressed God King Brutality's domain energy, God King Brutality still took advantage of the impact of the explosion to quickly pull apart the distance between the two of them. Thinking of Tsing Hui's terrifying sword intent, as well as the sword intent that was powerful enough to suppress most of his domain energy, this divine realm powerhouse of the Divine Ghost sect could no longer muster up the courage to continue fighting Tsing Hui. As he retreated, he roared, "Retreat! Retreat! Constellation, retreat! Sovereign!" Tsing Hui's battle prowess has definitely reached the level of a sovereign. He's not someone we three ordinary divine realm powerhouses can contend against. Sovereign? God King Constellation's domain energy was currently clashing with True God Calamity's domain energy. Divine ability after divine ability continuously absorbed the power of the domain energy, and then continuously clashed with the divine ability derived from True God Calamity's domain. Domain energy cancelled out domain energy, and divine ability clashed with divine ability. This was the correct way for divine realm powerhouses to fight. Relying on his experience and the assistance of a divine weapon that was a tier higher than True God Calamity's, he had already gained a slight advantage. When he heard God King Brutality's shout, he immediately diverted a portion of his attention to Tsing Hui and God King Brutality. At the same time, he sensed God King Calamity's disappearance, and his expression immediately changed. What's going on? Where's God King Calamity? God King Calamity has already been killed by Tsing Hui. His own attacks can already tear apart our domain energy, and what's even more terrifying is his sword intent. His sword intent completely surpasses any divine realm powerhouse's sword intent. Once our domain is torn apart by him, and we have to face his sword intent head-on, we'll be killed without any resistance. We won't even have the chance to use our teleportation technique. This is definitely the battle prowess of a sovereign. Let's quickly retreat, return to the sect, and use the cycle of life and death to contend with him. God King Brutality said. He no longer cared about God King Constellation, who was still fighting True God Calamity, and flew back to the sect at full speed. Damn it. When he saw the Divine King of Brutality retreat, the Divine King of Constellation no longer cared whether he was telling the truth or not. He could only withdraw from his clash with the true God of Tribulation. Otherwise, once the Divine King of Brutality left, it was impossible for him to be the opponent of the true God of Tribulation, the only true God, and Qing Su. Leave? Hand over your teleportation technique first. Tsing Hui took a step forward. Sword Qi shot out, and the remaining domain energy in front of him was sliced apart by the sword Qi. The distance between the two of them was rapidly closing. Then he pressed down with his hand, and the parting heaven domain was unleashed. The parting heaven domain's power instantly overturned everything within a radius of dozens of kilometers. Parting heaven domain? Not good. God King Brutality instantly realized Tsing Hui's plan. He then roared, and his domain energy boiled. The aura of divine realm surged, and he actually ignored the sword of sunlight that was rapidly approaching him from behind. He blasted out an attack, and in an instant, a hole was created in the parting heaven domain. Stay here! Tsing Hui roared. The sword of sunlight's sword light exploded, and the surging heat instantly engulfed God King Brutality. However, God King Brutality did not even look at the sword light behind him. When the sword of sunlight's sword light struck his body, he had already stepped out of the parting heaven domain. Blood spurted out. Even though the ruthless God King was wearing a Tier 12 defensive armor, his body shook violently under the slash of the sunburst sword. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and when the blood was exposed to the air, it began to burn, turning into ashes. But before Tsing Hui's second, third, and fourth sword light could reach him, God King Brutality had already activated his teleportation technique. With a series of spatial ripples, his body was swallowed up by the spatial ripples, and he disappeared without a trace. All that was left was Tsing Hui's second and third sword of sunlight's blazing flames that swept across the void. He actually escaped. Tsing Hui frowned. God King Brutality's alertness was too high. When God King Constellation saw Tsing Hui forcing God King Brutality to the point where he could not even escape with his teleportation technique, he was also shocked. Seeing Tsing Hui's gaze quickly sweeping towards him, he no longer pinned his hopes on his flying speed. He quickly activated his teleportation technique, and with the power of space, he disappeared from the battlefield. He escaped. True God suffering and the only true God looked at the Divine King of Constellation who had also fled. At the same time that they felt pity, they were also shocked by the strength Qing Su had displayed when he fought the Divine King of Violence and Divine King of Calamity. Perhaps suffering true God had put all his energy into fighting God King Constellation, so he did not see the results of the battle between Tsing Hui and God King Huaido and God King Brutality clearly. However, only true God had seen everything from the beginning to the end, including the scene where Tsing Hui relied on his sword will to almost kill God King Brutality. He knew that even if his mental strength was higher than the God King of Brutality and God King Calamity, it would only be 1 or 2 levels higher at most. With an advantage of 1 or 2 levels of mental strength, he would be no different from the God King of Brutality and God King Calamity when he faced Qing Su's sword intent. In other words, if Qing Su wanted to kill them, They probably would not even have the chance to activate a teleportation technique to escape unless they maintained 120% mental vigilance and constantly activated the power of their domain. Such a strong threat to ordinary divine saints had even surpassed Venerable Zhu Zhao, Hall Master Xuanji, Samsara Holy Master, and other existences that were only below Emperor Tai Yi, Lord Chaos, and Supreme God Ancient Desolation. My lord, should we continue to use that treasure to cause landslides to destroy the divine ghost sect's protective formation, or only true God came to Tsing Hui's side with a hint of respect and asked for instructions? In reality, with his status as a divine saint, there was no need for him to do so. However, after witnessing Tsing Hui's ferocity in the battle, he could not help but lower himself in front of Tsing Hui. Chase after them. Tsing Hui muttered to himself for a moment and quickly came to a decision. If he continued to use the Earthshaker Rod to attack the Divine Ghost Sect's protective formation, it would probably take him a day or two at the very least before he could completely destroy the Divine Ghost Sect. And during this time, he basically could not stop the Earthshaker Rod from striking the ground. The Divine Ghost Sect had already realized this. When the time came, all they needed to do was find a Son of Chaos with a personal space of the 10th step and take away all of the sect's core items. They would be able to escape without a trace. This was not in line with his original intention of destroying the Divine Ghost Sect to intimidate them. Right now, the Divine Ghost Sect had 2 divine saints. Among them, ruthless God King Huaido had been injured by his Sword of Sunlight and had burned his domain origin. It would be good if he could even use half of his strength. The only one who could be said to be at his peak was Constellation God King. And on their side, besides him, they still had Suffering True God and Only True God, 2 divine saints. Thus, even if the Divine Ghost Sect had a protective formation, so what? With their current strength, they could already force their way through. With this thought, Tsing Hui no longer hesitated. Riding on his sword, he shot through the air like a streak of light. In a dozen breaths' time, he had crossed the less than 2,000 kilometers between himself and the Divine Ghost Sect, even leaving Suffering True God and Only True God behind. And by the time he arrived at the Divine Ghost Sect, the Divine Ghost Sect's Wheel of Life and Death formation was already in full operation. All of the sect's major powers and astronomical phenomenon of Earth and celestial bodies were within the formation, maintaining its operation. They stared at Tsing Hui, who had appeared outside the protective formation, as if they were facing a great enemy. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.